Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to Rise and Shine College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, here with my special guest, the coach, Jake Merrill. Welcome into the show, Jake. And if
Yo.
you love college football, folks, you're definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame college football. Welcome into the show, everybody. Antoine Currington. Hey, well, that's a AAA fan right there. Thanks for coming in, my man. Martin Diablo, don't know you. Looks like you could be talking smack about Mississippi State. Don't necessarily disagree with it. Jet Sweep, I know that's shit talking about Jeff Lebby.
already this morning.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then Brian Sandlin, welcome into the show. JC Lamb, Brian Sandlin, welcome in, everybody. Make sure that you tap in. Let us know when you get here and wipe your feet as you walk in. Jake, what's up, man? Welcome in. I hope you had a good weekend. How was everything?
Good, man. Awesome. It's I'm on the Pacific time, right? I'm on the West Coast right now.
Yeah, so it really is time for you.
It's rise and shine, everybody. Now I was up at 5:45, man. That's my mornings. I get up, I do my thing and go from there. So it's been a good morning to start. The weekend was good. It was, it's crazy because, and we'll get into football talk, everybody. Don't worry. But it's always fun to have your salutations in the morning, along whether it's a coffee, energy drink, a bang, whatever you drink, you know what I'm saying? But and there's chicken, man. Good morning,
Good
chicken.
old chicken.
Yeah, good old chicken.
Calling out the stash. And Eric, we heard. Welcome
What's going on?
Welcome in, boys.
And make sure you guys, if you guys do got a Twitter, make sure you guys share this for us and tell people, hey, come check out the show in the morning. I mean, what's better than listening to football? You know what I mean?
Pump it out there. We're going to talk about a few different programs today.
Yeah.
We're going to start in with old Jeff Lebby, the former Oklahoma offensive coordinator. There's old Kimberly K too. Good morning.
Yeah.
Just working to support my favorite podcast. Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
Awesome.
She said I don't want trouble. Hey, well, you never bring trouble. We love it. But yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Mississippi State and where they project, I think, moving forward. Also going to get into a little bit of, we're going to jump around different conferences, but we're going to talk about Mississippi State and Vandy, probably the bottom two teams if you were to project right now. I mean, I think that's where most people have them. We'll talk about them a little bit. Then we're going to jump over to, I want to talk a little bit about some of the maybe contenders with the Big 12. And then I want to talk a little bit about Dabo Sweeney, James Franklin, because I think they could be in trouble a little bit. I don't know. I don't think that they're going to fire him this year unless it just like went way crazy. But I think if you've been on a downward trend, if you're Dabo, you've been on a downward trend since you won your last natty.
But I feel like that's a lot of it though, is that people don't necessarily like his quirky style. I think it also is like kind of media paints him a certain way at times. I like Dabo. I think Dabo has a unique story.
My problem with Dabo is that it's a bunch of when you start saying stuff like you're just kicking and screaming about the portal and telling us that it's. I mean, he was telling guys that they're the problems, the fans and stuff like that. But
the thing, you can't say shit like that.
Your recruiting is not better. In fact, you've dropped out of the top 10 in recruiting pretty much since Brent Venables left. And then you're not pumping in guys through the portal. I mean, even filling spots. So not only are you behind in your recruiting, but you're behind on the portal because you refuse to use it. You know, the only other programs that didn't add a single transfer this year, the academies, the service academies in Clemson. That's it.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay.
And
like
the portal is going
maybe his
nowhere,
strategy works though. You know what I'm saying? Like devil's advocate here, right? Like maybe Dabo has some secret sauce. I don't know. I mean, it's rare, right?
That's 4 games like, last year, brother. It's going that
fact.
way.
No, true fact. I'm not saying it's that perfect, but you got to get. He is one of those coaches though who is able to take the. I hate to say it, because you know me. Like I roll with the tide. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm a Tide guy, but I'm a Tide man, like Roll Tide Willie says.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I can watch those videos
About nothing but the Tide.
Roll Tide, man. but man, but I'm saying he's one of the only guys though. You look at Dabo and what he was able to accomplish against like Alabama's dominance, and you have to say, okay, like there's something. Now don't get me wrong, the coaching staff. That's a huge aspect, right? And hey guys, real quick, I'm not I mean, I was a coach, right? But the coach really is. Who is it? It's Coach Phil, right?
Coach Royball, yeah, Coach Royball.
Yeah. So that's the real coach.
Just the coach. We just call him the coach only. So, but he'll be in probably Tuesday night. I hope I hadn't gotten a chance to talk to him. I sent him a text last night and didn't hear anything back, but I'm sure I'll hear something. There are prerequisites to the academies as well. Yeah, I don't think you can even. They can't add transfers because you have to be appointed by like a congressman to go to academy.
Yeah, well,
that's how it goes. A representative or whatever from your state. So it's not as easy as saying, I think I'm going to go to Air Force this year. I've been at Mississippi. What I mean? It's 100%. Just can't do that. But but again, look. My thing is that, and then he says stuff like, the guys in the portal aren't good enough to play at Clemson. You win 8-4, Dabo.
Yeah. Again, I don't know if he's just like fighting this whole like portal mindset. I don't know. Maybe you have so it's.
I don't think you can. I think that this at some point you're gonna have to just get up with the program, or he said before that he would probably leave before he did. And I understand that if that's where you are and you don't want to deal with this, I mean, just like Coach Saban did, you don't have to stay. But I don't know why you would take the program that you built up and run it into the ground before you leave.
I mean,
I just don't understand that. And I mean, and at the point now, look, they're trying to get out of the ACC. I don't know that that's the greatest plan for them. I don't know really what's going to happen with all this realignment. I think it feels like they're going to get out. I think it probably would have been better if they found a way to stay, because I don't see the NCAA being a part of this for much longer. I think you're going to end up breaking up into like 60 or 70 teams for this college football playoff, because not everybody's going to be able to pay out their revenue like that. They're just not going to be able to do it.
100%. I think that's just, and on top of that, it'd be nice to see them split up in a way that like you don't have to fly. I mean, West Coast teams shouldn't be flying to East Coast to play football.
That was the dumbest move ever. I don't know what Stanford and Cal were thinking about. Well, I mean, I do. They needed to get into a conference, but I'm surprised that it surprises me that they just didn't go independent and stick it out, and do whatever I mean, because you can play whoever you want, and they don't care anything. They don't do any NIL kind of stuff at Stanford that I know of. In fact, that coach was talking about it that first year that he came in there to replace. Why am I forgetting his name? He was a really good coach. The last guy that was there.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just brain farted. But anyway, so I feel like this is you're in a situation right now where it's highly competitive. You're not recruiting in the top 10 anymore. You're getting your guys, certain guys here and there, but the depth thing is what's going to kill you. We talk about it all the time. Competitive depth. And if you don't fill up the little holes that where you are, I think it's a problem. But let's start off with Mississippi State. Jeff Lebby, old Jet Sweep Lebby. Let's find him here. Mississippi State. 1 second. Okay. There he is. Hey. Old Jeff. As you can see, their schedule there up on the side. Starting off with Eastern Kentucky. Now they've got a tough schedule, man. The thing is that you come in that they're looking at, I believe they've got them at 4.5, over under 4.5 wins projected. I think it's going to be kind of hard to get there. But I'll tell you something.
4.5 wins.
4.5 wins over under. So, to hit the over, you'd have to get to 5. It's kind of, he was heavy in the portal, and he did pull in, when he got there, he was able to pull in the number, I believe it was the 29th composite ranked class. Of course, his first season as Michigan State's head coach after 2 seasons as the Oklahoma offensive coordinator under Brent Venables. He had previous stints as OC under Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss and at UCF under Josh Heupel. So he's got good pedigree. He also worked under Art Briles at Baylor before all the craziness that hit there. He's generally considered one of the better offensive play callers in the country. I think Oklahoma fans would tell you it depends on the day. But I will say this, he had a top 15 offense at Oklahoma the first season. He had a top 5 scoring offense in the second season as well. He led Dylan Gabriel. He's been pretty good with quarterbacks, man. He actually worked with who was the kid that was at Ole Miss before they got Jackson Dart? Oh man, he was kind of he ended up going to the Panthers as well. But so
man, that's hard because Mississippi, Ole Miss, at least it feels like their quarterbacks are not always relevant. So
yeah, but this kid was like the first. I just forget his name.
Was he a Island kid?
No,
because I'm thinking farther back then.
Because he was just there last couple of years. But anyway, he's worked pretty well. He did wonders with Dylan Gabriel. Obviously, he was able to do pretty well with him. There were times that I felt like there were times that he didn't let Dylan go, but he certainly, Dylan had a lot of. He was definitely wanted him to get the job at UCF, and you heard some things about Dylan may have kind of pulled a mutiny to when Gus Malzahn got the job. It was for sure that maybe he didn't even come back from his injury because he didn't want to play for Gus because Jeff didn't get the job. So he definitely had, a lot of love for Jeff. He didn't go with him though to Mississippi State. He went to Oregon instead, which I don't necessarily blame him. He comes in, his key losses would have been obviously Will Rogers, who was the number 1 passer in Mississippi State history at over 12,315 yards. He had 94 touchdowns to 28 interceptions in 4+ years as the Mississippi State quarterback. Mostly that was under head coach Mike Leach, runs a similar scheme. Last year under Zach Arnett, they dropped to 5-6 and went 3-5 in the SEC West. He was replaced very quickly. In fact, he didn't even make it to the end of the year. He was two games left. He's out of there. And it was just his first season. He's now working as a consultant at Ole Miss. So, former defensive coordinator. Now he's either a position coach or maybe he's an analyst. I'm not exactly sure, but anyway, they did retain DeMonte Russell, edge rusher. He was, and then his brother Donterry Russell, who's a true sophomore, was a all SEC freshman with 19 tackles and a sack and a half. Key additions obviously would be Blake Shapen to come in and play quarterback. He played at Baylor over the last couple of years. He has a career 63.6% completion rating and 5,574 yards, 36 touchdowns to just 13 interceptions. They were pretty putrid, though, in the last year. Baylor has been just heading in the wrong direction since they won that Big 12 championship, and I don't know why. But
man, I just don't know. Baylor's a unique. You look at all the schools in Texas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. You look back and you really got to ask yourself with Baylor. I just don't know if they can keep up with
Matt Corral. That's who I was thinking of.
Yes, man. Yeah, that's right, man. That's so. Yeah, he's an interesting. I didn't necessarily like him as a quarterback, but
Jake did good. He got him into the first round, or early second round, whatever it was. But he worked him into the first round, and of course, a lot of that probably had to do with Kiffin too. To be fair, his first time to actually call plays was at Oklahoma. And the truth be told, you know, the guy that they got coming in now, Seth Luttrell, has significantly more experience calling plays than what Jeff had. So, you know, and he was obviously there. There's a lot of we're not talking about Oklahoma, but he, to be fair, I mean, the guy hit definitely, I think that he's still got some stuff to learn. He is going to go ahead and call his own plays according to what he said when he got the job. Kind of surprises me. But hey, Neilio, thank you very much. Good Monday morning, fellas. It's nice to be with you again. Appreciate that. Daniel Denny, that will never make the screen in this show. You must know better. They go that way. They go that way.
I think he's rocker. You look at the guy's pick.
No.
I think he's rocking out, man. Look at the hair. It's just an 80s style, dude.
I got to tell you, if you throw those up in here, it never works.
I like that. That's funny.
Hey, Neilio, thanks for coming in. Coach Ricks, what's up, my man? Mike Prima, appreciate you coming in as well. Stink us, Cat. Good to see everybody in here. Mars Jams, good. All right. So, as I said, Blake Shapen is one of his major additions. You also added offensive guard, 6'6", 320-pound transfer out of Texas Tech, Jacoby Jackson. They added Trent Hudson, wide receiver out of New Mexico State. He had, on just 35 receptions last year, he had over 550 yards, but he had 15.7 yards per reception, 10 touchdowns. He's definitely a speed guy, kind of small. They also brought in running back out of Iowa, who really didn't do a whole lot last year, but Ivory Kelly Martin. So, you know, they're definitely looking to look, this is what they're going to do there. They're going to try to put up numbers. And I think that's kind of what you have to do if you're Mississippi State. You're never going to really put together a defense that is going to, it's not going to be an Alabama defense at MSU. It's just not going to happen, you know? And they're not going to recruit at that level. Now, right now they're sitting somewhere in the neighborhood of like in the 60s. He did recover pretty well though. I think the guys that he brought in recruiting last year were pretty pretty awesome. He had got 2 high 4-star receivers out of Mississippi, or one of them was out of Mississippi. You had 6 foot, 200 pounds, Braylon Burnside, Balin or Braylon, one of the two. I may have typed that wrong. He's from there in Starkville, Mississippi. Then you also got Mario Craver out of Pinson, Alabama. He's 5'11", 165, another speed guy. Then they added a big time offensive tackle, 6'4", 313 pounds, Jimothy Lewis Jr. He played at IMG Academy last year in Bradenton, Florida. So those are their key adds, you know, that they got through their recruiting. And then, of course, adding in with their transfer portal guys, you know, it looks like they may have their quarterback of the future coming in with this class. Kamario Taylor, 6'3", 205, making Mississippi. He's fast. I don't know how much of a thrower he is, but they've got him listed as an athlete, so I don't know for sure that he'll play quarterback, but he's a stud. He's a 4-star. So, you know, top 300 anyway.
You know what's going to be interesting though is like especially with Lebby, is their offensive line at Mississippi State looks pretty decent. So I feel like they'll be able to actually put up, like you said, they'll put up numbers. They just defense. They just won't have a defense. I mean, they are so inexperienced, and there's not a lot of depth.
As many people as they like to talk about the SEC and defense, there's not a ton of teams that play it. You know, you've got your elite guys, and then, you know, your upper half are going to play fairly good defense. Now you're going to have big guys, but like Neilio says, he remembers when they had all those first rounders on defense, they still weren't really a dominating unit. And that's, it's kind of these days. First of all, that's the other thing, is it's hard to be a dominating defense these days because all the rules are catered to offense explosions, you know? And I'm sure you would probably blow up on that subject as a defensive guy, but I would tell you that it's also, you know, there's just only so many of those big boys to go around. And then, you know, and then the other thing that you see is the best secondaries along with the best defensive lines are the ones that are going to really turn everything, that's been kind of yeah. He said deep dive into Mississippi State football is the 8th level of Dante and Dante.
That's a
It's
good
not
one,
going to be
man.
that deep there, Coop, but I appreciate that.
We just like to look at these different teams from like an SEC standpoint and who's going to be playing, and it's good to kind of start breaking down as we get closer to season, like who's who, and just even like little key aspects of each team, right? I mean, you don't got to get deep dive into these, but it's kind of fun. It's interesting.
My only thing is I'm not a big fan of Shapen. He, his numbers don't look terrible, but there were times that he was just terrible.
Coop,
Yeah. There was just times that he was just terrible, and I just don't know that. Hey, what's up there, Sooner fan? And so I don't know, man. To me, looking at this at 4.5, I think it's Eastern Kentucky, Arizona State is not going to be a gimme, especially going on the road. Toledo, I mean, you should win that one. So maybe you get 2 out of 3, maybe you get them all. I don't know what I think about Arizona State just yet either. But that's on the road, so that's not going to necessarily be an easy one. It's certainly something that, I would think that the Big 12 needs to acquit themselves pretty well in their SEC matchups this year. So probably an important deal. But they're probably on the same level. So I would think that you probably get an opportunity to win that. You should go 3-0. Florida, it's at home, but I don't think Florida's as bad as everybody else does.
I don't think so. I think Florida's like that team that's your upset team right there. Mm-hmm. That's the team that's going to go into this season and pull some, bunnies out of a hat, right? And be like, surprise, So I have a lot of respect towards Florida. If there's like another SEC team that I like with a coach that's maybe like a dark horse, that would be Florida for me.
I don't think I think that they've recruited a lot better than people give them credit for. I think that they've probably I would love it if Billy wasn't calling the plays, because I think he just gets kind of lost sometimes. but we'll see. But I do like them too. I don't think that there's any way that I think they at least get to 6 or 7 wins. I just do. Anyway, I talked for a full 24 hours once. It's true. I don't know, Boomer. I don't know, man.
He's funny, man.
Yeah, he's a trip. All right, so then at Texas, I mean, he knows what to do. I mean, he called a really good game. That was probably his best called game in 2 years in the Red River last year. But at Texas, followed by at Georgia, you got to expect those are going to be losses. A&M at home, if A&M is anything close to what we think it is, that's probably a loss too. The Arkansas game at home, this is a game that you need to win. If you're going to get to the over, this is a game you're going to have to win, right? Obviously, the UMass game, you should win that. They're trash. But at Tennessee, the Missouri game at home, and then you got the Egg Bowl, which you shouldn't win the Egg Bowl, but you never know in a rivalry game what's going to happen, and he knows what Kiffin's going to do. I mean, it could be a decent matchup. In the end, it shouldn't be. If it is, Kiffin has probably underachieved once again. So I would think, to me, I think that the key games for them to get to the over and hit 5 wins would be, obviously, you got to win your out-of-conference games, probably, and including that Arizona State game. You need to win that one. You're probably going to have to pick off either Florida, Arkansas. So, that's 4. You're going to have to either get Florida, Arkansas, A&M, Mizzou. I mean, I don't know.
Mizzou, I mean, I know how you feel about Mizzou, but they're definitely, I don't feel like they're beating Mizzou. I think offense.
They shouldn't, but offensively, they can probably keep up with them. I think Mizzou is going to be, just to not be an ass about Mizzou and to give you real talk here, I would tell you that you'd have to win a shootout with them, and you're hoping that because their defense, certainly they lost a lot of guys, definitely in the secondary, and he can definitely scheme it up. So I think, having that as a home game, if you've got any sort of, I mean, you could have, if you had say you had a decent game at Tennessee, which probably that's going to be a tough one. But
Oh, at Tennessee, yeah. That's
probably
I
gonna
don't
be
even know if you have a decent game. You mean
Yeah.
at Tennessee? That's going to be a really that late in the season.
I think if you're Jeff Lebby, though, you want to show some kind of improvement. And I mean, they were 5-6 last year. I guess you could take a step back to take a step forward, but in order to kind of recruit where you need to recruit as far as skill guys are concerned and stuff like that, I think you're going to probably need to pick off somebody that is.
Oh, you're going to have to, yeah.
That is, yeah. I mean, you're going to have to pick off somebody that you shouldn't beat. And look, I mean, just to for the horns up guy in here, I'll go ahead and just say this is the kind of guy that could beat you if you're Texas, although I doubt it. But they're not beating Georgia. We know that. I doubt that they beat A&M, even though they're at home. You got to win the Arkansas game. You got to win Mizzou. You got to win Arizona State for sure, or you're going to have to beat Florida. That's what's going to have to happen. So you got to win your out of conference, and you're going to have to beat one of those guys. And really, the hope I think for him is to step up there and beat somebody they're not supposed to beat. If you can get back to 5 wins and possibly hit 6, and have an improvement over last year, that gives you some kind of momentum there. They're not going to fire him. And Selman, the AD there, he's an Oklahoma guy as well. He brought him in there for a reason. One thing I'll tell you about Jeff Lebby is he does very well with NIL. He was the one that kind of really helped put that together for Oklahoma when Brent Venables got there. So I do feel like, yeah, they're going to have a lot to play for. You're right.
Well, it's interesting. Mississippi State, I think with them is you just watch the way they play ball, and it's been pretty consistent with their mindset. They've always been looked at as an underdog, no matter what. I mean, it's very, very rare you look at them and say, "Oh, these guys are, boom, boom, just studs." At one point, right, we did see them on the map as far as like, wow, like. We were taking notice, and that was just a little while ago. But I think with them is they come in always with this underdog, like kind of Rocky mentality.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they have the Rocky syndrome for sure.
But I know
they are always somewhat.
They recruit pretty well in Mississippi. They always kind of have,
Yeah, I mean they're kind of an untapped gem though, as far as talent wise. There's so many talented players out there in Mississippi, but Mississippi from a standpoint of getting noticed, it's harder. Yeah. It's kind of like Alabama with talent. Like people know about Mississippi, sure, but I think it goes a lot deeper than
the talent is.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it goes a lot deeper than what's shown.
Well, if you think about like that's kind of like Louisiana. It's all of those little southern states, man. You just got a bunch of guys that are just big.
Louisiana though is like
big boys.
Yeah, man, like Georgia and Louisiana get like picked a lot.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But, yeah.
Okay, so this is funny. Ryman Lehman Lebby was taught how to pay players by Art Briles, so of course he's great at NIL. Yeah, he worked it out. But they will get physical, fast. I agree with you, Coach. I think they're gonna, and he's gonna do that anyway. He does a really good job of recruiting. The thing I was very surprised about when he left, nobody went with him. None of his coaches, none of the coaches that he tried to get Joe John to go with him. He tried to get, what is it? Coop's in here talking smack. But you start looking at, he didn't get none of those guys, and none of the players went with him either, which was fairly surprising because he recruited Jackson Arnold. He recruited all these receivers. None of them went. Now,
that's kind of what I'm saying. That's the thing is like Mississippi State's so I have a buddy who played for Mississippi State, man. And it's like, it's one of those places that you have to have a unique, like kind of mindset towards going into Starkville. And
Starkville's a different spot, man. It's a cool place, actually.
I've
been
cool
there before, but it's a little different for sure. But Mississippi's it's a different animal altogether, man, if you think about it. I mean, and I can't wait to go to the Grove, but I don't know how pumped I am to go. Steencast Cat, thanks for the super chat. I'll always root for Mississippi State because of Mike Leach and now Lebby, Oklahoma family. Correct. Look, for as much as people were on him, and I have to admit that I was one of them last year over some of the ways that he called some of the plays, I was on his side with the Art Briles thing. I think that was a mess and it wasn't his fault. I will say that it wasn't handled well all the way around. But thank you for the super chat there, Stink. And I agree. I hope that he does well too. And then you got to remember, as I said, one of the Selman brothers' sons was the former assistant AD under Joe Castiglione there at Oklahoma as well. He's the athletic director. So yeah, we got love for Mississippi State at Oklahoma. For now. For now, anyway.
I mean, I would. I mean, look what he look what he was able to do, you know. And so that's kind of like the big one, you know what I mean? Like I think you see what he does for Dylan Gabriel, right? Okay, so he has a few games. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I freaking look at Oklahoma last year and their offense. I think their defense stood out to me in Texas game for sure. Like, for sure.
Yeah.
I thought for sure after that Texas game, I go, oh my God, Oklahoma is like back. You know what I mean? That's what I felt, right?
Yeah.
From just like an outside perspective of remembering the teams that were great back when I'm like kind of going through my football days. But then you're right, there's just some weird mishaps to the season. Like after that Texas game, I thought for sure that Oklahoma's going to playoffs. Like they will make it to the playoffs.
They had some injuries, and
gosh,
they had a lot of. And the problem was the depth on that other side because the other kids were young.
Yeah.
And the thing about the 3-3-5 is it's tough to learn for some of these guys.
No.
I mean,
well, yes. Like here's the thing though, is because in a 3-3-5, yeah, you're playing either quarters, half, or you're playing quarters,
very gap,
or you're playing that too. Like because the linebacker owns two gaps, like middle linebacker owns two gaps, and you have to have a really good middle linebacker. I mean, to be honest, your linebacker core has to be really solid. Man, I could go into that one for sure. It can be complicated, and if you can't be consistent in stopping the run and getting, like I said, you have to get touches on the quarterback. Like the pressure is good, but you have to really force.
You got to get him off his platform and have him. Yeah, I agree.
So,
and I think that in the end, there was definitely some mishaps towards the end of the year. I think that where you've got those guys that have picked it up now, they've added their strength. You know, they're second year guys at this point. Some of the guys I feel like, you know, we were talking about it with Coop last night on his show was that, you know, some of these guys are probably going to press these freshmen, you know, because they continue to recruit better and better all the time at Oklahoma. But my thing is that I believe one thing I know is this guy is going to put an offense on the field that is going to put you in jeopardy, no matter who you are. So you're going to have to, if you overlook them, they can step up and bite you. And this is what you saw out of Art Briles, man. It really is. I mean,
oh, no, that's a good point, man.
I mean, and you know, his son and Jeff, of course, being his son-in-law, but you know, they definitely that what do they call it? The bear gun or something like that, or the bear raid is what they called it.
Oh, bear raid.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, Art Briles is still one of the best offensive minds in the game that I've ever seen. So to you know, to learn from him, and then of course learn from Josh Heupel as well as Lane Kiffin. He's definitely on his way. We'll see kind of what happens. I hope he does a good job, but let's move on from there. Let's talk about Vandy a little bit.
I saw a question real quick. I was going to answer for Boomer.
Oh yeah.
And no, so yeah, you asked if I played against any SEC teams. No, we didn't play any SEC teams during that time frame, but I will tell you that so I was recruiting the SEC, so I used to go down to all the Nike combines down there, and I am, to be honest with you, like LSU at that time, because Nick Saban had coached there, I was really considering LSU in Florida. And so you go down, like you go down there and you play against those athletes in camps. Like I was telling you this, you know, Jason, it was like, I played against, like in camp, we'd have these super teams because they take all the kids they're recruiting and put them on like a renegade team. And so you play with, and then like against all these dudes. So like Ryan Perlew back in the day, who is that quarterback? Wow. He's a stud, right? Back in the day. I mean, Tim Tebow, it was good. Percy Harvin, who you end up playing against. So Trey Blackman, who played at Auburn, who was a roommate during at one point. So I mean, like you get to go down and experience all that, and yeah, you asked if there's there's a difference. I think what it comes down to is more
No
so
doubt.
like speed. I think speed. I think you have guys down there. I think football was just, especially at that time frame, it's interesting because football is taught with more depth and understanding. I'm a big guy, so I'm one of those type of people where I think everybody should is I'm a concept learner first. So I
Yeah.
have to understand the purpose, and then I have to break it down. Okay, purpose, why do we do it? What's the point? And then what's my assignment to that purpose, right? So that I can see the big picture and then take it to a small picture. I think that's how it
Yeah.
always should be taught. But it's
Right.
funny because a lot of coaches they're like, well, we don't want to. It's like time sometimes is the case, or maybe it could be knowledge too. Like they just don't understand like how people can pick things up. But if you can get everyone to understand like one concept and one purpose, and then
Right.
from there break it
Do your
down.
job.
So
Yeah.
I mean, and yeah, and then to understand why you do your job though,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the key.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it's funny because like if you don't pick that up, and I think on the West Coast, besides your bigger schools in like California, where I was coming from, we didn't see a lot of coaches like that. And again, Washington's like
They
a
were
Washington
really in
State.
depth. Mhm.
Yeah, it's a different sort of, it's not necessarily like football. You don't know a lot of guys from Washington State or the state of
A lot of
Washington.
stud players came out of there though.
Don't get me wrong, yeah, but I mean, you compare that to like the SEC, like the
Athleticism
South,
is yeah, 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 I get
you
it.
just different
Well, and
stuff.
that's the
So
thing. Did you hear about the South? And it's all speed. I mean, especially the Florida kids.
yeah,
But at every, you think about those LSU kids and per capita, or those Louisiana kids per capita, they probably got more studs in that state than.
they do, man.
I mean,
I
they are
mean,
just unbelievable.
that's why
I'm
I
telling
went
you,
and
they got a
tested
receiver
myself.
factory down there. I like this. What Rimey said, the best place to eat in Starkville is actually in its sister city, Columbus.
Oh,
Check
nice.
out Old Hickory. Bring your own booze. Yes, you can carry your own booze. These are good things to know. These are good things to
Mhm.
know, Ryman.
They are
Appreciate
good.
that. Yep.
I like that, man.
And then
But
they close up at midnight. And then kids, you have to have two gap players, not just the size.
yeah,
Absolutely, man. And you have to
yeah,
have guys that know what. Look, if you are not, it's one thing to be fast. It's another thing to play fast. Because if you don't know where you're supposed to be in this scheme that Venables has, then you will get out of place. And I mean,
dude.
even Danny Stutzman the first year, he struggled a lot. He'd
He
be in
just
the
is,
wrong gap. He would do,
yeah,
he made a lot of tackles, but he also made a lot of mistakes. And I think that part of that too, and Coop was talking about this last night, and it kind of resonated with what he said was that,
Hmm.
We had Alex Grinch for a couple of years, and some of the guys, now you don't have any of those guys left aside from the, just Stutzman and Billy Bowman and Ethan, but this is now their third year, so they get it. But these guys that are coming in now, they didn't have to come in and learn what those guys were doing, the speed D concept and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And so it's not, maybe they're going to pick it up a little faster. You're hoping anyway. And from what I understand, the linebackers are starting to look a lot better and all that. So the good news is that's, this is always the year that's why it takes that second and third year for most of these kind of defenses to kind of pick that up, is just because of the fact that it's just sophisticated, and you have a lot of different, the reads and everything else. And if you don't play fast, it isn't going to matter. How fast you are.
Defense is an interesting one because if you get a really good defensive coordinator, the hard part for a defensive coordinator is like you have to really look at what are you getting player wise? What does your youth look like compared to your, I guess, more mature guys on your roster, right? And then how quickly as a group are they picking up this idea and like processing it, right? And so if it seems like it's going slower than it needs to, can we speed it up by teaching it differently? Are there different ways to present these concepts that click faster, right? So, and it's hard when you get a defensive coordinator who's used to having a lot of success. It's hard to sometimes make that adjustment to change some things, because I mean, once you get into a thing that has worked for you,
and he's not the kind of guy to bend at all. And Chris, that's not what I was. I was saying basically that yes, it wasn't necessarily a Stutzman issue. It was an issue of having been around Grinch, But I was saying that even he, as good as he is and was last year, and then, you know, and what we expect out of him this year, that's the thing, is that, you know, he had to figure that out too. Even he made mistakes because of that, the fact that all that was going on, you know. So. Look, I feel like we're in a okay, I'll stop that rhyming, my bad. But I do feel like that's where, you know, this year 3, that's where you got it, and you've got better athletes, and this is when you start, the competition gets real and that kind of stuff. But again, we're not really here to talk too much about that. Let's move on to this. Tell me a little bit about, here's my question about Clark Lee, and we can do this in 5 minutes. I want to know just what you kind of think about Vandy. My question, I guess, that I really have is, I don't see them really doing much as far as, I mean, they're expected to win 2.5. Their over-under's 2.5 on the year. I think they'll be lucky to get that, because last year they had 2 wins, I think, right? Or no?
Yeah.
Yep.
Last year they were.
Yeah, they were 2-10.
2-10.
Yeah, and no wins in the conference though. So essentially, you know, you only won 2 of your out of conference games last year. They've got Georgia State, which is not going to be an easy win for them, even though it's an FCS. Alcorn State, another one that won't be easy. Virginia Tech is certainly going to kick their ass. So, I mean, Ball State, and you hope that you beat the FCS schools. I don't really see them putting up much of a fight against anybody here. My question would be, if you're Vanderbilt, do you have to go ahead and, because, and I feel bad for the guy, because the portal hurts these guys the most, right? They basically, if you get anybody that you coach up and they have a decent season whatsoever, they're getting pillaged. You know?
Well, and here's the thing too, is like, and I kind of brought this up, I think Vanderbilt too has this like academic standard / they have like, people look at them, you know, it's so funny because you go back in the day, Vanderbilt was a beast. Like, we go back in the history of SEC football, early days. I'm talking like, you know, like early 1900s, right? And so Vanderbilt is like the team to beat. Like, right, Tennessee does not become Tennessee without beating Vanderbilt back in the day. That's how Tennessee even gets themselves on the map, right? And you look at these other schools, they're created. It's funny because, like, back in the day, Tennessee brings in a coach to beat, just specifically to beat Vanderbilt, so they become relevant. And it's just funny how you look at time and how all these things have shifted. Now, there's a few things that haven't shifted in football history, but Vanderbilt being one of them has been a dramatic shift. And
I think that really it probably hurt him for Franklin to do as well as he did when he was there, because he was winning. He won 10 games a few times. That was unreal. I don't know what happened that he can't do it at Penn State, but he's. We're going to talk about him in a minute. But Stink Ass Cat, thank you, Stink. Hopefully we can make it through 3 games at the beginning of the season without some OU fans calling for a coach to be fired or a quarterback replaced. Tired of all the negativity. I mean, there's a certain. I think this is in every fan base for sure, but I would say that Oklahoma. There is this. Well, you hadn't won a natty in a while, and people are ready to win another one. So there's a lot of people that are not very patient anymore. You know, we were talking about it before. They were wanting to fire Brent Venables when they lost to K-State.
No,
you know, in
terrible
week
idea.
3 of year 1. You know,
yeah, man.
so
That's just the atmosphere we're in today, though.
And they were pretty awful. There were some people that were very awful to Dylan Gabriel. Certainly not very cool to Jeff Lebby either. I think that it was definitely going to go the other way. But
yeah, this is a good opinion. You know, Shoddy, what's up, man? I haven't met you yet, and
Shotty's the man. Hey,
great to do some stuff with you too, my friend. And Eric, good to see you, man. I appreciate you as well. Love your stuff. But I'll tell you, like, it's a good point, because there's not a lot of kids who got, like, I had a friend who went to Vanderbilt, man, and he was an academic stud. He was super smart. He played center, and like, be honest with you, I didn't even think he was like gonna play at that level. So hey, that works. Good for him, man. So I do think though that with Vanderbilt's interesting because you have to try so hard to get pieces in place, and you have to have a system that works really well. And then on top of that, you have to have the right coaches.
Yeah.
And I think here's the thing about with Clark Leo, right? Is like he has the right mindset, like he has the passion behind it. He wants to do a good job. He has like that. There is this. How do you say? Because he played there, so I mean, there is this like, it's like Scott Frost, I think it was, right, at Nebraska, who like he was awesome, but he just coaching wise, it doesn't always fit. What what you're trying to do because you have to still be one heck of a uh, I guess relationships guy, philosophy guy, but also X's and O's guy. And then you have to know how to put the right talent around you. Right. And so I don't know. I mean, he's trying, don't get me wrong. I mean, you look that they brought in Tim Beck from New Mexico State. And Tim Beck has a pretty solid record as a head coach.
And they also brought Coach Kill with them too. So the head coach came with them too. Coach Kill's been one of the better coaches in the country for a long time. His health it's kind of gotten in the way, and then their bowl game, the little fighting with UNM stuff going on. From what I understand, he was very standoffish. They brought the quarterback with them. Look, the bottom line is that it's hard to if they do anything. And I think Shawty's exactly right. If you go to Vanderbilt, and most likely football is not the way the kid plans to feed his family. Well, I get that, but if you bring in a guy into the SEC and he's good enough to play SEC or at all, or maybe he isn't, but he develops into that, then you're going to lose him, right?
Yeah,
I think that's the issue they're having. So, but that's my question is, do they pull the plug on this because he's restarting every year? And in particular, I wanted to kind of bring it up with Jeff Lebby is, if Lebby goes in there and let's say he wins 5 or 6 games, maybe 7 games, and you're stuck on 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, this schedule does not help them. I'm going to be straight with you. This is like you look Virginia Tech, they're going to lose. Like Virginia Tech, for people who don't know, they are your sleeper ACC school right now. Their defense is going to be very good. They return, their productivity of what they return is insane. So Virginia Tech's going to be I think they're going to be really, really good. Alcorn State, I don't know a lot about Alcorn State, but I do know they put up fights when they play. At Georgia State, I think they will be good. Who took over Georgia State was the stud. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name, but the stud recruiter from University of Georgia. Gosh,
oh man,
jeez, he has such a.
They lost 2 really good recruiters. They lost that defensive guy too that went and became the head coach at Syracuse, and then they lost that recruiting guy. Yeah, I remember who you're talking. I mean, Shawty, you can tell us who that is. You're
100%. Yeah, he's stud, man. He was a stud, and he's recruiting. He's doing a good job at Georgia State too. With his
this guy's not going to win. Because he did really well as a coordinator there at Notre Dame. He was one of the more sought after guys. He's a Vanderbilt guy.
Yeah.
If he's not going to win and he loves it, who are you going to get?
No, I don't know. I mean, well, and I think that's where you have to start saying like, okay, how much money are you guys going to pour out? Because it's not like Vanderbilt's some poor school. Right? Like it's not like their alums make bank. So
that's a very good point. And here's the other part about that. With this money explosion, right? We've already heard rumblings about Fox. Josh Pate was talking about this, that Fox has made it clear to the bottom feeder, all the time bottom feeder Big Ten teams, that it's not okay to continue just collecting the check and being shitty every year. That they want them to put their money into coaching hires, into recruiting, and everything that they because they're talking about there could be some sort of relegation like what you see with football across the pond. Where, you know, if you don't do well in a certain league, you know, you drop down to the next lower league or whatever.
Mhm.
So
I mean, that's an interesting concept. You almost got to say, wow, that creates a lot of competition. It's going to make it fun, but
I think it's
also,
probably the
it
one
can be
thing that you
dangerous
can hope
too.
for if you're, say, Oregon State, Washington State right now,
Yeah.
or and I think that they should be brought up either way. But I'm saying that really right now, when you start looking at the group of 5, and
Mhm.
you start looking at, you know, for certainly, you know, any of these other, I think the group of 5 needs to do their own tournament. But in that case, if you go and you win your own playoffs, then you could bump up and say, yeah, okay, we're going to play with these guys because we're able to win at that level. Or, you know, but you would probably have to do it for a certain amount of years or whatever. I don't know exactly how it works, but I don't know, man. I think that I don't foresee how this is going to work any other way. But if you're Vandy, if you're, you know, the Illinois and Indianas of the world, if you're, you know, I would say Mizzou, but they finally, you know, they've invested in their football program apparently.
Mhm.
Arkansas, though, they've struggled a lot. I don't think that South Carolina, it's a problem with investment. I think they invest. I think they want to play, and they, you know, they fill up the stadium and stuff like that. I don't know that they're getting. I think it's a tough place to recruit when you right in between Clemson and Georgia. But that being said, I mean, you know, we'll have to kind of see what's up. But again, yeah, and definitely they've definitely sold their souls. That's been a while.
Yeah. I mean, it's what you know, it is funny though. What's going to be somewhat interesting is Vanderbilt goes to Auburn, right? And they just pick up New Mexico State's head coach.
Yeah.
And he has a knack for beating
Flipping
Auburn.
around little teams that
Dude, he
never
has a
win.
knack for doing things with guys that might not be what we consider like an
He did
SC.
it
I
at
mean, look,
Minnesota. He did it at Central Michigan. He
so
did it in New
and we
Mexico State.
and we've talked about this before, even with USC bringing in like who's it, Matt Entz, I think his name is, but I know it's Coach Entz, right? But basically
Yeah.
from like an FCS and who's very, very successful. But now you have, you know, what Tim here, who from New Mexico State, and could he be like your next guy? Are they kind of saying, all right, you know, we identify obviously along with Clark saying we identify him, this will help us, or is this a stopping ground for him to grab an SEC job? Right now we're starting to identify coaches that we're seeing being brought into this Power 4 now,
Sure.
right? That are they're going to turn
Well,
into coordinators if they're not a coordinator already, and then B, within a year or two they move into head coaching jobs because these
absolutely.
head coaches are bouncing to the NFL due to the
I would tell you that
chaos.
that's what's going to happen in the Big Ten too, because of the fact that if they're telling them that they need to invest more in better coaches, I think that this is where the ACC and the Big 12 get in real trouble. The ACC is going to implode either way at some point, but even with
Yeah.
the Big 12, where the Big 12 is full of very, very good coaches, right now they can keep them there and happy because they're able to pay them not necessarily what you pay certain SEC coaches or the top line Big 10 coaches, but they're competitive. You know, Mike Gundy makes $9 million or something like that a year. You've got, you know, guys like, you know, I don't know what Chris Kleiman makes. I think it's somewhere in that neighborhood. I would think that they had to definitely invest in Lance Leipold for doing what he's done as far as turning around Kansas the way that they have.
Yeah.
I know that Dion's only making $5 million, but Witt has to be making $7 or $8 million a year at minimum, I would think. Coach Whittingham at Utah. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And to me, I know that they paid that they're getting paid well, but if they now, because they're getting so much more money, they could say, okay, yeah, we can pay you 12 and we're going to give you the facilities, and the only way you're going to have a chance to win anything is if you come here. You're Matt Campbell's of the world that will absolutely stay at Iowa State if he can, would maybe end up, this is when you start losing them because of the fact that there is just such a huge disparity in money. Are we going to start seeing Indiana matter? Are we going to start seeing Illinois matter? Well, Illinois already got a decent coach, but
yeah, here's the thing. What I think you'll start seeing for sure is I believe what you're really going to see is you're going to see maybe these guys get into positions that have success, right? They show like a first tenure of 2 to 3 years of success.
Sure.
And then they're going to do very similar to what you're seeing Florida State, if I'm correct, for sure Texas, but you're going to have these long like contracts. They're going to want coaches and put them into long contracts with buyouts that they cannot get grabbed and pulled somewhere else. So they don't have this.
Oh, the Big 12 coaches? Yeah.
Well, I'm saying coaches in general. I think you're just going to see that go that way towards these what programs have success.
But you know how SEC guys, SEC programs will cut your ass in a second, though, and don't. I mean, so I think it's. I would think that they would
Texas did with
some of these huge buyouts. You know, huh?
Well, I know, but I wonder if that trend is changing because look what Texas does with Sark, right? Look what Oregon's doing with Dan Lanning. Look what Florida State's doing with, what's his name again?
What was it
Florida
again?
State's coach.
Oh yeah, it's Norvell.
Norvell, yeah, thanks. It's early in the morning here, guys, in the West Coast. So,
but again, I think that we know what happened. They all got the same agent, so that's what happened on the.
Well, I agree, but if you start seeing that trend with that,
I mean,
the board is going to be a really interesting.
They both got 10-year deals.
Well, so that either is a good thing or a really bad thing. I don't know why you would do that so early with Riley. That was a very interesting. Like you had a lot of faith to turn around USC. Maybe he does. I mean, shit. We'll see what happens, man. I know how you feel about it. We did a whole episode on it, but maybe. I mean, dude, don't get me wrong. Like I look at what he is bringing in defensively because he wants to. He needs to win so damn bad. Right? Like he did bring in a very impressive defensive staff to fix issues. If he helps Miller Moss, who is not his type of quarterback that he usually uses, if he helps Miller Moss, and Miller Moss produces, then you might have something there at USC. They're recruiting like madmen right now. Like you see their recruiting. I'm going to be honest.
That is if they fall apart during the year, do they keep all those guys in the fold?
No,
because a lot of those guys, I mean, they're recruiting a lot of guys from Georgia and Florida and places like that that will not stick.
Nope.
So I'm not really looking at what USC's at, where they're at in recruiting right now, because
you're right.
I think that D'Anton Lynn, they like the guy, and I think they like that defensive line coach as well because he coached, obviously he's a coach there with Aaron Donald. Yeah. So, but that only equates if you don't go and get your teeth kicked in, and they're so thin along that defensive line that I don't see any way that they can compete in the Big Ten this year. We'll get into USC at some point too. I was kind of thinking about doing that today, but I didn't. I figured it would take too long if I did. So, look, that's the thing. But Chicken, you're saying they have atrocious facilities, but now they're going to get $100+ million a year. They're getting the bulk of the contracts, of the CFP money too. So I mean, they're getting more money than anybody. So this is again, guys, the people that thought that this was about fairness and trying to get even out and make everybody competitive, competitive balance. No. That's never been what it's about. That's never going to be what it's about. It's always going to be about haves and have-nots. But if you are that television network and you're saying, look, I'm giving you $100 million a year to invest in your program, put it into your freaking program.
Yeah. And no, Coach Ricks, you're right, man. Like we've talked about, me and Jason talked about this a few times about the strength coach. Like I know that, dude. Here's the thing. Like I look back even in high school ball, right? Like my head coach was phenomenal. Studied the hell out of Nebraska's strength program because during that point in time, Nebraska and USC's, because USC and Nebraska Nebraska old school style strength versus USC's new style. And this is back when USC's dominant back in the day with Pete Carroll.
Sure.
And so he did a hell of a job with us coming out. I mean, dude, we put up numbers. I mean, my power clean was, I played safety and I'm 6'3", 220, and I ran a 4.448, right? I think I had like a 37.5-inch vertical, but like for power clean, for example, I think by my senior year, I had a power clean of 375, which is pretty for a safety. It's a pretty decent number back during that time frame, right? And so the power that strength program is huge, because then you take that into college, and you're right, if you have the right guys in place, Alabama, that's one of the things that I am so impressed with what they've done. Their strength, whoa, you want to talk about their program is so good that you look at even the guys in the NFL who come back to train there. I mean, shoot, Michael Penix was just there. Yeah, he's doing a visit, but he's also doing training there. So because these guys all know like that is one area. If there is a foundational area you have to have, it has to be in your sports medicine, and it has to be in your weight room. You know what I'm saying? So you look at these dudes, man, that say, hey, like, we invest into this foundational area that you don't realize how important it is because it doesn't get the same attention as everybody else, right? It doesn't get the attention of like a head coach or OC or defense coordinator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
well, that's the
spot on, dude.
With most of us, it's like, why would you get rid of one problem and not the other? You went halfway with it if you're Lincoln. That's the weird part, you know. With Penny White, he's a title
weird
guy.
belief, man.
You know, P90X dude or whatever, but it's just kind of weird, you know.
Yeah,
but you know what? You're right. Purdue is going, and Chicken, I think you were talking about that. I've seen stuff online that they've I think it's a couple of different phases, but they've definitely upgraded it. Didn't you say they had a nice the booth that you were in last year was cool, Chicken? I know that the rest of the stuff is, you know, but that's the thing, is they have the money to invest in it now, and they kind of have to. Although I don't know how much facilities, I think you have to have good enough, but some of the programs that are already winning, they've already had that. They get what they want, and you know, for all they've already had that stuff. But so I think a lot of it's going to end up going in the pockets of these players because they have to pay them now. And look, this is probably going to they don't want to give them any money. I can tell you that. They're going to have to. They have to split. Right now it's at 20-something%. I'm surprised that they accepted that low, 22%. But 22% at Alabama is different than 22% at Kansas. You know,
it's true, man. I mean,
you know, so that's
true.
It's never really, and on top of that, the SEC and the Big Ten already make 30, 40, $50 million more a year than the Big 12 does. That's the biggest problem. And so to me, and now you have that, to me, if you're the Big 12, the one hope that you have is that they don't do that. They don't push for them to, hey, you either get good or get gone, because then they're going to start poaching coaches and players and everything else, and it really is going to become kind of a farm system for the big boys. And that's not what any of us want to see. I don't want to see that. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hear you. I hear you on that. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how they go about with that money too. Like, you're right. Like, I think that's one of the biggest things you can do overall is from a facility standpoint, from a stadium standpoint, like, bring in, there's something to be said. Like, we always, like, a lot of people call it like an eye test, right? And they do it when when you're going to scout a player or you start to hear about a player. One of the first things you can't help but look at, but you subconsciously do it, or you might do it on purpose, but you're looking, do they pass the eye test? Okay. Right. If they do, you automatically, in your brain, just the way your brain works, is you've already leveled them up. They've already caught this attention for you. The same thing goes for kids coming in, man. And
10,000 ice cream machines, bro.
Oh, dude, that's funny. Yeah. So I mean, and that's the thing. It's like you think about here's a really good idea is you look at Oregon. Even back in the day, when I was going through the process, I remember visiting Oregon, right? And dude, you walk in there, I mean, it was like football heaven because of their facilities were all this modern, cool, and I mean, they've not stopped. That's why Oregon can recruit the way they can recruit because kids see that. Not to mention it's like the Nike factory, right? But kids see that and it's just like, man, I love this. Like, look at all the gear we get. Look at all the stuff. I mean, shoot, dude, you go in the locker that you could literally, like I said, I'm 6'3", 220. I can fit into the locker to take a nap. I mean, it's huge. And
Yeah.
it has a duffel bag full of gear. You have brand new shoes every other month that you get. I mean,
Right.
like it's crazy. And then you look
Now,
at the stadium, you know what I'm saying? Like the stadium, and even at a stadium, you're like, whoa, this is impressive, right? Like this is a great stadium, you know?
I think I know what you're talking about there, Shotty, and that's what I was saying a minute ago. It's the thing is that now that they had to dump a lot of that money into facilities because of the fact that they just had. And you're not supposed to make a profit
Oh,
at these
this is a
colleges, right?
good point.
Yeah, so I think that's I agree. I think not even just with NIL. Now that they're doing revenue share, they're going to stop doing it because they still they're wanting to go into their pocket. But yeah, I agree with you totally. And then you guys were talking about Purdue and their facilities and stuff. Kansas, Kentucky, they're all the same way with hoop, man. If you're a basketball school, you're a basketball school, and that's the thing. And this is why one of these next ones that we're going to talk about, I think, obviously, we're not going to know a whole lot about what's going to happen with Clark Lee. We can kind of move on from that. I wanted to
Well,
speak
real
Go
quick,
ahead.
Jason. I was just gonna touch on this. The thing is Clark Lee is Leah, right? He's the one who calls the defense.
Yeah,
And
he's good, dude. I like him.
I think he has a good idea. He wants to do, but he doesn't have.
But he doesn't have the
Does
players.
not have what he needs to do. I mean, they lost the Nate Clifton.
He
and
needs to
last
do
year,
a better job of like
dude,
putting his defense in
this is where I'm saying this would be his downfall right here. If he continues to choose to call the dang defense. Last year, they were 129 out of 133. That sucks ass. Okay. Like, dude, if you're the head coach and that's what your defensive numbers are, and you are not, your improvement has not, but you haven't even been in the top 110. So if you're going to do this, and Coach Rick's, man, you hit it right there, that comment. But if you're going to keep calling this defense and you refuse to bring in someone else to help like fix this, that's where your downfall is, my brother. That's where your downfall is, because you're holding on too tight. You know what I'm saying? But Coach Rick's just hit a point on this one too, man. Is the Michael Jordan donation?
Oh yeah, when
And
he
that
does it all,
facility is dope.
Oh, dude, it was
Have you
dope.
seen that locker room?
He started dumping money into
Dude,
it, but
whoa, that locker room's insane.
Oh, bro, yeah,
insane. Like it's impressive.
And
I mean, Alabama's
and again,
too.
we're talking about brands that. See, people were asking me one time before why I was saying that North Carolina will always be involved in this. I don't give a shit how good they are at football. This is one of the biggest college sports brands in the country, period, no matter what. Who doesn't know the Tar Heels? Who doesn't know Michael Jordan?
100%.
It is as big a brand as any of the big boy blue blood football programs, guaranteed. It just is because of who it is. So there's a reason why the SEC, if I think that their preference immediately is definitely North Carolina, without a doubt. I've heard Virginia as well. I'm not sure that I get that so much, except for maybe where staying within the footprint. You don't have anybody in Virginia, so I see that. But that's who they want, from what I keep hearing. Now we'll see what ends up happening. I know that, but yes, I've been to a bunch of those places too. Assembly Hall, little different, right? I've been to the Dean Dome there, unbelievable. I've been to Cameron Indoor, unbelievable, but nothing's like the Fog. Nothing is like the Fog in Kansas. Fog Allen is just ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, there's money, right? Yeah, man.
Well, that's what how do they think you get like Mac Brown? I mean, that's the only reason you pull him out of basically what, retirement, you know what I'm saying? Like,
because he was making a lot of money just to talk.
Seriously, I mean, which is the interesting grab. I mean, I'm sure they had a list. It's hard when you look at that, but
well, he was really.
there's
I
a lot of
mean,
them.
him being there before got him the Texas job.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
he was that guy. So
Yeah.
look, Mac is still a hell of a coach.
No, he's good. He is good.
What they struggle with obviously is recruiting there, and it's a basketball school. It's never going to be a full football school. It's just
not full, but yeah, they definitely have come
what
back.
I was talking about. I'm going to bring this into what we were talking. Coach talks about this all the time with Tech. A lot of people are pro Joey McGuire. I'm pro Joey McGuire. I think the guy is. I think he does a fantastic job in recruiting. He's gone out there. He pulled 5-star Micah Hudson, wide receiver from Texas, got him away from Texas, got him to come to Texas Tech this year. They're recruiting very well. He's doing this is a guy that was once the president of the Texas High School Coaches Association, which is similar to being the president, for Texas. When it comes to coaches, you need to kiss that guy's ass. There's a reason why he's kind of moved up this ladder the way he did. He worked with Matt Rule, worked for the year that Baylor won, not for nothing, but the year that Baylor won the conference championship. He was there as the assistant head coach. I almost feel like a lot of people believe that he was the reason for that, not just our boy that poor dude, man, at Baylor. I feel bad for the guy because I think he's a hell of a defensive coach, but thing is, it's such a weird cat, dude. And to be,
yeah, it's tough.
I think he struggles to. He's at he lost me at Big 12 Media Days last year, and I understood what he was saying, and I still was lost. I was like, whoa.
You're like, what?
Mac is a good coach, dude. He killed it, and that guy, he definitely knew to take care of the high school coaches. I think that's definitely what happened with Jimbo. Anyway, Joey McGuire has that going for him. He loves Lubbock. I think his daughter graduated from Tech. It's not like he wants to go anywhere. They are building the facility there, but the last couple of years, you've heard them expecting him to do something. Now, he's still pretty new, but I think after last year, the way the expectation there was that they were going to contend for the conference championship game at the very least.
Yeah, I should know.
They go to Wyoming and get beat. After playing a pretty good game against Oregon at home, they get beat at Wyoming. They have some games where they just get drugged. They seem to struggle keeping guys healthy, particularly their quarterbacks. And there was people talking a lot last year, the creators that are around Texas Tech that were saying, look, the honeymoon is over. It's time for you to start winning. What they're paying him, what they're doing, the investment that they've made in the stadium, and they've made in the facilities for them, they're fantastic. But it's really cool, kind of catching up with the rest of the league. I mean,
God, it's such a cool place.
What, Tech?
Yeah, I mean, well, just like, Lubbock. I mean, it's freaking, dude, that place is.
It's a different place. I like Lubbock because I've been around it a lot, but there's some. Look, they love their basketball though, and they will quit on you if you're not winning quickly.
Well, yeah, we saw. Look what they did to Mike Leach. I mean, that's a long time ago, man.
That was Mike's fault, though. A lot of that was Mike's fault.
I mean, I get that, but
as much as I'm not a fan of the Craig James and his little bastard kid, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
and I think that there was, but also they weren't going to just fire him. They weren't. I mean, he had thumbed his nose at the bosses for a long time. Then and he had gotten so big for his britches. Why he was a pain.
Well,
in the ass. By the time
Mike's,
he got fired, by the time all that happened, he'd become a big pain in the ass.
Wow,
I love Mike Leach. I'm a fan, big fan, but yeah, I mean, he was acting like he was Nick Saban, and he didn't win like that. So
shit, he definitely helped Tech come back and be something. I'll say that.
I'm not saying anything bad about him as far as that goes. He also helped Oklahoma win the national championship without even being there. You know, because that first year of being there, Mark Mangino, you know, working with them, becoming the coordinator after he left. Look, I will forever be indebted to Mike Leach and love the guy. And he was fun to be around too. And there was some, I mean, they certainly had their moments with him where but I'll say this. They were going to give him everything he wanted money-wise. He was still going to be fired, and he fought it just for the sake of fighting. And then he wanted the money later, and when he lost the case, they weren't trying to screw him out of that money.
Yeah.
I mean, the people that I know there around Tech, that was
an odd dude.
Huh?
He was an odd dude, though. That's just who he was.
Definitely an odd dude, man. He's a fun guy. He was
cool. Great, but odd.
yeah. Oh man, well he would take on Coach Knight when Coach Knight was there. Gerald Myers, poor dude. You know, when he was the AD, he had to deal with their both of their asses because they were both that way.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I got stories about going into Gerald Myers' office, and anyway, it was a fun deal. I enjoyed working with both of them, but they certainly it's a tough place. And the thing is that with Tech basketball, that's what stirs the drink. They were very close to winning the Natty a couple of years ago. They didn't, but they were close. They've been, you know, a growing program really since the Knight years and stuff, and they've had some guys that have come and gone. But I would say that they don't quit on the basketball team like that, but they will quit on you football-wise. They will stop showing up in the stands. And so the honeymoon is probably, even though I think everybody loves Joey, he's if you've ever been around him or ever you even heard him talk, he's cool, great guy. I think he's the kind of guy that can get you to run through a wall for him. But you've done well with the recruiting. Now you have to, there comes a point that it's got to equate over to the field. I know it's just year 3, but year 1, they were here. Year 2, they took a step back. And I don't know that that's going to work there because, again, they just, you know, they're pretty finicky in Lubbock about football. They want to be good at football, but they're, you know, they don't mess around with it very much.
What I mean, do you have their schedule, Jason? It'd be interesting to see what they even look like.
Go here. Boom. Oh, wrong
dude,
one.
that's a pretty. I see Chicken say it. Mac Brown was an OC under Barry Switzer at Oklahoma, man.
He was.
Yeah, dude.
He was indeed.
Dude, freaking man. It's cool looking at coaching trees, man. I love coaching trees.
Oh, dude, me too, man.
Oh my God, I love coaching trees. I think it's one of the most interesting things, man. Like, oh, dude, I'm all about that.
Have you know about the guy at Texas State, right? Oh man, I can't believe I just forgot his name. I was watching him yesterday. But they're killing it over there. Just one second.
I like that, but dude, look at
GJ Kinney is killing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Dude.
Oh, dude. I mean, he was down in San Antonio at Incarnate Word. They were killing it there, and then now he is taken, and they already won a bowl game playing in this conference, and this is they just got into FBS. You know, they beat the hell out of Baylor last year. He's able to kill it in the portal. He's been able to do a very good job as far as Kenny's. I kind of wonder if he's not
next.
He's definitely going to be in line for a big job, but I wonder if he doesn't, because I was surprised last year that they didn't get rid of the coach at Baylor after they lost to him and they were so bad. Did they owe him a bunch of money there, Alan? Because it seems weird to me. But yes, they're killing it, man. And so GJ, and he was a hell of a quarterback too when he was at Tulsa. I mean, I remember him back in those days, and he was in there, worked with Mike Norvell.
Good.
Because Norvell was, I think he was the receiver coach at that time.
Got you.
When they were through there. But I mean, man, the coaching trees are cool, man. I enjoy watching them too. But it was crazy that he was part of that with Norvell, and I want to say Trailer. And there's another guy that it shouldn't be long. I was surprised that A&M didn't really try to pull the trigger on that. They certainly interviewed him, and he's killed it at UTSA. Killed it.
Oh, dude, yes. Look at the players that are being grabbed from UTSA, even in like the portal. Even even the draft this year, they had one? They had one or two. They had one drafted high. Checking out this Texas Tech schedule, man.
It's a tough schedule. This is the thing is they close out with a bear of a schedule. I mean, really, you open up with AC, you're going to win that one, obviously. Then you got Washington State, though, which is on the road. They went and lost at Wyoming last year. These are the games that he cannot be losing. And then, it's one thing to take your time with, winning a necessarily a conference championship, which they've never done, and he's recruiting well, but you can't go losing to ACU or Wyoming or even Washington State on the road when Washington State isn't very good right now.
I don't think they would lose to Washington State. I think Washington State got depleted.
I know they did, but I mean, don't tell me that Wyoming was that well, but they did.
Well, Wyoming was
they almost beat Texas.
That coach,
too, yeah.
Dude, those coaches are impressive. With what Wyoming did. Granted, don't get me wrong. They got
going to be very good too. You're not wrong on that.
No, he's
so look, they go to Arizona, or they got Arizona State at home. They got Cincy at home. They should win both of those. But you go on the road to Arizona. That's your first real test there. You should come into that game though 4-0. If you can get a win there, you probably bought yourself some time. But if you go over there and you get throttled by a first-year head coach, that's not going to look good.
Which one? Arizona?
At Arizona. Even though I think they got Fafita.
They're not winning that game. There's Arizona right now.
Get their ass kicked, though.
I'm going to tell you right now, Arizona is
I like freaking
them. Dude. They are good.
But you got a different coach. You said this yourself the other day.
Brennan. Yeah, I know. I agree.
Your first year with this guy, it shouldn't just be seamless.
True.
And if it can be seamless there, then why aren't you getting it done if you're Joey McGuire?
Agreed.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here and telling you what they're going to be saying in Lubbock.
Well, here's the thing: is I think they lose Arizona. I think potentially they even lose to Arizona State, because I think when you have a second year under, oh my God, I cannot believe I'm forgetting his name. I just was watching.
What are you talking about?
Arizona State's head coach.
Oh yeah, it's
He's freaking.
I talked to him just recently. It's shit.
Yeah,
he was the OC at Oregon. He was the OC at Florida. He was the OC at Man, why are we forgetting names, dude? You're killing me. If you hadn't said that earlier, I would have gotten it.
Yeah, it's the morning. It's all good. It's
Kenny Dillingham.
Yeah, Kenny. Thanks, man. This is why you rely on.
He's a bad dude too, man. He's a bad dude.
I think Arizona State might. Yeah, okay. Jay Rashad is gone, but that's great. I wasn't real impressed with him, anyways. But I do think that with Kenny Dillingham, I think
you'll be Texas's coach. Trey was going to be Texas's coach.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, that's a 10-year contract Stark's under, but
you don't think that they'll pull the trigger if he goes and gags?
This is how much money, man. I'd say that's a huge hit. I think they're gonna give him time.
You realize they got more money than A&M does, and A&M did it.
But dude, they're not gonna make that same mistake, I don't think. Well, granted, I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was the right thing for A&M to do. They should have done that a long time ago. I should have never given that out. Like, you got to, that's what I'm saying, 2-3 years and then put them into a 10-year. Like, let's see progress. Let's see something that works. But we go back to the schedule, like ASU, potential loss. Arizona, I think they lose. Baylor, they win just because Baylor's going through some weird stuff.
TCU is probably a bit more testy than you think it is. I don't know where they're going to be this year, but I mean, look, those guys all have worked around each other and together, and they know. And look, they brought in Gary Patterson this year at TCU, which is crazy to me. Crazy to me. But I also, I mean, I like Sonny. I think he's a good coach. I don't know how much they did as far as how well they did in recruiting. I feel like they're probably middle of the road, but I don't know that Tech isn't the same. And you're on the road there, and it is kind of a rivalry there.
Well, who they bring in for a quarterback because they lost theirs in the transfer portal?
Barrymore, he was already there.
Okay.
He was already there. He's
familiar.
The thing is, the thing is like I don't think that he's as good as Tyler Shuck was, but Tyler Shuck's never healthy, so it doesn't matter.
I know that's it. Well, granted, I will say Shuck made a big difference though when he was playing, man. Like he was able to do some things. Granted, he also made some crucial mistakes, but he was able to really make some serious plays when he was in that allowed Texas Tech to stay in games. I mean, truthfully, you kind of also lost it for him. I forgot which the big game I was watching last year that basically they could have made a few plays. They would have gotten in the red zone, been fine. But getting back though to the schedule, Iowa State.
What the hell was I just thinking? No, it was Baylor that's so freaky about that because he was TCU's head coach and they hated each other so much. That's a huge rivalry right there, TCU and Baylor.
But no, Iowa State, I think they lose. Iowa State's supposed to be phenomenal.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I like Rocco. I like Rocco Becht, and they play defense every year, man. I mean, Matt gets it done. And listen,
Iowa teams play defense, man.
Trash. They had all that gambling stuff. They lost their quarterback. The true freshman comes in, and I mean, he played pretty well against. Yeah, that's what I meant. I meant Baylor, Mars. My bad. But yeah, Rocco came in, played really good. I like Iowa State. That's probably this is what I'm saying. There's a lot of losses that can pile up here, and if you don't win, say, an Arizona game where, and don't get me wrong, I think as far as receivers are concerned, with McMillan there, he may be the best receiver in the country.
Yeah.
Fafita looked really good. I think we'll have to kind of see what happens there. They go through some stuff there too. They've got some early games that could kind of knock them back a little bit, but I think Arizona's good.
If Brennan's smart, though, he's going to implement a system that's similar to what they're running, so that way the transition is not big. And the reason they're going to do that is just because
he was in the running last time.
Yeah, I mean, Brennan's a good coach. Yeah, I think he brings in the things that he needs.
Sometimes it just doesn't come right together, right?
100%. Well, and I agree. Like, you have to get buy-in from the players. There's a lot of other factors, but I think they're going to try.
They kind of told me they bought in a little bit, though, right?
Well, it does, because a lot of those dudes could have just grabbed what they wanted, head to Washington, and go right back into the talk of Washington being a competitor for the playoffs, because they totally would have been. I mean, they would have stacked that roster, and Washington did stack that roster. I'm going to be honest. There are stuff on that roster that's going to be interesting to watch. But real quick, so you got at Iowa State, they lose. Colorado, if Colorado's playing defense this year, which I think will be improved, I think you lose to Colorado. Really? Oklahoma State, we never know.
At home?
Dude, Colorado.
They toss batteries and tortillas out there, right?
Hey, that's fair, but Colorado, dude, I think they got a little attitude, man. I think Dion does not. I do not think he wants to lose like that again. I think
I'll tell you this. As much as, and you're not going to get agreement from most of these guys in here, but I tend to look, man, they didn't protect Shedeur all of last year, and he had great numbers. He got beat up the whole way, but he only had 3 interceptions. And they have skill guys. If they can keep him upright, this is they can get out there, and some of these defenses will give them problems. They're not going to win the conference, but they could win. They could be. They're not winning the conference.
You never know.
They're not winning the conference,
dude. I think it's the one team that makes can make, if there's one team that makes some crazy jump, I know this is wild and kind of a hot take. I think
Let's hot
it's going to
take
be
it.
them because you you look at
Sorry, I screwed that
man,
up.
dude, their offensive line, bro. Like you look at their offensive line, what they do. I mean, it's impressive. It's impressive as far as what they've brought in, the type of coaches they've brought in from mindset wise. And I think Dion's just at a place right now where this season, with everything he's hyped up, with everything he's done, even with the shifts that he's made, I think he brings it together. And I think he really thinks about the fact of these coaches putting the guys in the right place. I know you don't win in the portal. I get that. And that's not what I'm saying. But I will say this is I think that they have the right mindset right now to be successful. And if they grab momentum, that momentum will be very hard to stop. It will be like a giant boulder rolling downhill. I get where you guys are coming at from. You can't win the portal, but I do think if
They don't have
anybody
a choice but
uses
to win in the portal, and they brought in Phil Lodeholt, who worked with Big Bill, the guy been in the league. He's gonna coach those guys up on that line. All they have to do is keep him upright for a little bit. They've got enough talent at receiver. If they could run the ball a little bit, they're going to give teams problems. I'm telling you that I don't think that they're going to win the conference, but I'm going to tell you another thing. I do believe that they're going to make it hard for a lot of other teams to win the conference. They're going to ruin it for 2 or 3 teams out there probably, and I think that I kind of agree with you that Tech could be one of them. Here's the thing. I don't think that I mean, to me, he's not going to stand up to guys like Coach Witt will coach circles around Dion.
Agreed.
He just will. And the same with a guy like Willie Fritz. Hey, man, if Willie win, I don't think that they win this year, just kind of like it was at Tulane. They'll go 2 wins and then they'll go 8. But Willie will flip that thing around fast at Houston, especially with the amount of talent that is in that area. They will get that. I think Houston is a sleeping giant waiting to happen.
Oh, yeah. Don't get
It's
me
the
wrong.
very reason that Texas did not allow them to be in the Big 12. The very reason. They did not want them in having anything to do with the Big 12. They kind of screwed them out of it. It is what it is, and they definitely hate Texas as much as anybody does. But look, I don't know why you would say that when they got better on the offensive line, Neil. I mean, I'm with you on most of this stuff. I got to tell you, they got better. They got better coaching, and they got better players on the line. They're good with the skill guys. I don't see how you break him in half when you didn't break him in half last year.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just gonna. You're right. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's a very.
West another one of those teams. Yes,
it's you're on with Colorado. It's like you're either on one end of the spectrum or the other. There's no in between with them. It's either you think they're gonna put it together and win, or you think they're gonna just be
so much
destroy. Well, and I understand that. Like, I get it, like for sure. But I just think, man,
there's a lot of jabber and no substance so far. That's why I get that.
100.
I mean, look, I'm behind Coach Prime. I don't hate him like everybody does. I understand. I think that he's not right as far as how he's going about it with the recruiting. I think that you have to recruit in the high school.
Yeah,
I think you have to.
I agree.
And he's kind of refusing to do that. So I don't think in the long run he's going to succeed that way. But I don't think that he's as bad as everybody thinks he is either. I do think that talent-wise, when you have a quarterback like Shedeur, you can win games in college. We're not talking about the SEC. We're not. We're talking about the Big 12, and we're talking about a Big 12 that's going to already cannibalize itself. There's too many.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. The Big 12's that one. I mean, that's why everyone's like, dude, this league's probably one of the most fun leagues to watch because you have no idea week in and week out who's going to be on their game, who's going to win.
Absolutely. I think we talked about it on that show with Ty.
Yeah.
We had 7 guys, six different answers of who was going to win the thing.
Yeah.
I think that 100%. Kansas could win it if Jalen Daniels stays healthy. I don't know that he stays healthy. He hasn't yet.
Wow, that's it. Yeah,
I think Kansas State and Utah are the 2 best teams. But a lot of that will depend on Cam Rising. But when you look at the way that Utah plays is what will serve them well because they play good in the trenches. They don't They don't just throw the ball around. They play complementary football. They're gonna out tough you. It's all about physical, and it's kind of the same thing that you get from Kansas State, right? I think that, but I also think that Iowa State is going to have something to say about that. West Virginia, as these guys are talking about, I really like Garrett Green as well. They've gotten better every year.
What's their defensive line look like, though? Because it doesn't matter if you have a tenured secondary if you have a crap D line. You know, if they have a weak
better there. I mean,
D line, then
they won 9 or 10 games. They won 9 games last year.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they looked way better.
He was going to get fired.
I know.
So,
yeah, it was impressive.
I'm just saying, I don't know for sure that he's going to actually win I don't know that. Look, I'm saying that about West Virginia. I'm saying that about Colorado. I don't expect them to win the conference. They're going to make it hard on somebody else. They're going to screw some. I mean, Iowa State has been that team in the past. Kansas State has been that team in the past that they'll screw it up for you. K-State screwed it up for OU all the time. All the time. All the time. They won a lot, but it was, that was kind of OU's pain in the ass for that conference for the longest time.
Yeah.
But I think that's where you've got Colorado. They're going to do the same thing. I think that West Virginia is going to do that. But I really think that more than likely it comes down to where I'm at right now. I think it's Kansas State, Utah, possibility of Kansas, but Iowa State. I think it's those three. And they'll kind of battle it out and see who gets it there.
Do we take Texas Tech and say, all right, like this is a season you have to show like a winning.
See? I don't know.
I mean, how close do you got to be for them to be okay as far as coaching wise?
I think you need to be in contention for the championship game until the end of the year. If you want to keep control, if you want to keep the people in Lubbock happy, I'm not saying to fire Joey McGuire. I think he's a hell of a coach. I just don't know that I'm telling you, the guys that I trust in as far as the creators in that area are questioning his ability to get it done there already. They fired. Look, they got rid of their last coach fast. And the guy had done nothing but win anywhere.
That's true. I mean,
they let Cliff stay forever and not put a defense on the field, but but he's an alum. But I'm telling you this, the way they did Matt Wells, I don't know. Because Matt's a hell of a coach. He killed it at places that you don't win at.
It's true.
And he was winning at Tech, and they got rid of him. He won 8 games the year they fired him.
I mean, that's the thing. Is like how long did
that year than Cliff ever won in a year while he was there. So
and I mean they are considered. I think a lot of from a national standpoint of looking at their overall. I think they're at 7.5. So
their 7.5 is their number. I mean, look, we could go through it. I mean, okay, so HCU, they're going to win. They should win at Washington State. They got to beat North Texas. That's 3-0. Arizona State, I'm telling you, they need to win that game. I like Kenny. They need to win that game. So, and Cincinnati too. I don't think Cincinnati's still there yet. They got Dante Corleone back. I think that's about it. At Arizona, there's your first one that you can understand them losing it, but you can't go over there and get your ass kicked. You need to go over there and be competitive. I don't know that they will. The Baylor game, you better win. They should literally, they ought to be at this point 6-1. Going into the TCU, because this back stretch is the struggle, right?
Agreed.
At TCU, at Iowa State, the Colorado game, at Okie Light, it's tough to go to Boone Pickens. Even though I think they're going to gag. And then you got to host West Virginia at the end. And every one of those teams, other than maybe TCU, should be at the very least in the top 6 and you only got to get 2. You got to get to the top 2. So if you're in the top 6, you're going to have something to play for at that point. I think they all will be. All that whole laughs from Arizona on.
Yeah, maybe
Or
besides
maybe
just
TCU. I don't know that TCU's there yet.
Well,
But
sadly,
it's still a rival game. That's another rivalry game, though.
yeah. And I don't know if Baylor's another one. I just feel like they just
Yep.
what they
And Wells is
lost.
now yeah,
coaching
Matt
wise.
Wells is the OC, the new OC at Kansas State. This is another
Yeah.
reason that I like K-State's chances.
Well, K-State's it helps too that you don't have, Will Howard, there's things he did really well that I liked. Then I watch him versus versus Texas, where he basically freaking blows the game. And you're like, dude, like the one game I want you guys. I mean, I like Kansas State in general. I like the way they play, but like I'm like, dude, come on, like you guys can beat them. Like, let's go.
Who's the other
one game, freaking,
Yeah, they definitely upgraded, I think. But who's the co-OC, Neil? I didn't realize it was a co-thing. Who do they got?
They probably have a passing game coordinator. Just I don't know who it is, but am I going to make it to?
They're going to let Matt run the plays, call the plays though, right?
Yeah, well, the way it's all based on what they're evaluating during the game. That's how that works. So like you have like one guy who's watching, what are they doing with the box? You have another guy watching how they're splitting the coverages, because the coverages aren't going to necessarily be determined always what goes on within the box, right? Yeah. So that helps like when you're scheming, because what are you seeing trending? That it's like a canine. It's funny because I bring this up a lot. When I worked law enforcement, I tested for canine, right? And because I did training for so long.
Right.
And so I got the dog, I got the canine position, and they pulled the funding. Damn, would have been a lot of fun. But when a canine, it's funny because when a canine's doing their scent trail, it starts in a cone. So it starts real wide and then narrows down, and that's how they get to their point of finding.
Sure.
Well, it's the same thing in that concept of looking at it from the scheme of like the co-offensive coordinators, right? They do the same thing with the defense too. But these guys are watching the back end scheme, and they're watching the front end scheme, the front seven, right? And they're watching the way they come together. And once they find those mesh points, that's where they know they can attack certain aspects. So I think it's a great idea. It's just how fast can those guys identify the mesh points, right? So
right.
I mean, I love it. I think that you just see a lot of teams. That's obviously the new style. I mean, I love that. So
I think that, yeah, definitely. And like I said, I think Matt was up for one of the coordinator job at Oklahoma too, because he was also there last year as an analyst. But it was going to be Seth. It was going to be Seth. But they're all connected, and so I think it was a good job by K-State to pick him up. I would say, yeah, you compared to, I definitely think what they did well. I mean, that was such a freaking big pickup for them to get Dylan Edwards. Huge. They were already good in the backfield. And then they added Dylan Edwards to go along with, hey, look, I think that the more I watched Avery towards the end of last year, the dude's a stud. Straight up. He can run, he can throw. They're going to throw the ball better under Matt. Definitely they upgraded there. Yeah, I think it's a good move. That's why right now, if I'm looking at it more and more, the more I like it with the pieces that they've added. Chris Kleiman is an insanely good coach too.
He is a great coach. What's funny with Edwards too is he's a smaller back, correct?
Oh yeah, Dylan. Oh bro.
Yeah. So you look at.
I think that's why you got the Reggie Bush comparison there, man.
Well, 100%. It is a bold statement. I mean, I could see it what you mean explosiveness wise for sure.
Right.
But you look at, I think with him, what's interesting is K-State is kind of known how they utilize the smaller backs and they do a really good job of it, of putting them into space.
Deuce,
I think
Deuce was a bad dude, man.
Oh yeah.
He was a bad dude. He killed it there.
That's right.
Was small, but that guy, I mean, look, man, they drafted him. I don't know what ended up happening with him all last year, but Deuce is a good player, man. He's going to be okay in the league too. He's going to be okay because he's just and look, you think about back under Coach Snyder, they had what was little guy's name, Neil? Man, damn it. He
Roll Dogs.
Roll Dogs.
Which one is that? Which is that?
Kyle, he's the OU guy, but he's down in LSU area. So
I like it, bro. I don't Roll Dogs. Are you talking like Tide Huskies? I'm down with that.
Yeah, he's talking about you. Yeah.
Roll Dogs. Thanks, brother. Thanks, dude. I like it, man. That's right, dude. Hey, man, roll Tide with a dog mentality. That's what I always say, man.
6-footers with lots of quickness. Like it.
What now?
Neil's talking about that they got some of their better wide receivers in the last 20 years as well.
Yeah.
Bigger and speed. Nice.
Yeah.
Darren Sproles, dude. Yeah.
I'm telling you, K-State is like
better at K-State with that. But of course, that was Coach Snyder, but
it's been this theme though for them.
Yeah,
like and they're really successful with it. And I love
so good in the NFL.
Well, I mean, dude, K-State with their like smaller backs, man, they give the platform. I don't talk about
Darren Sproles anymore, okay? He killed us.
Yeah, I mean, dude, he's a beast. He was fun to watch too. But shoot, I know we have some other teams to jump into too, Jason. Who else do we got?
We're almost done. Yeah, we're almost done with this part of it though. But I mean, like I said, I think that I don't think they're going to fire him. I think that you're in danger of losing control of the narrative there. That what I will say is that they still seem the people that need to like him still seem to like him. But I think he needs to do himself some favors, and win. And I don't know that it's necessarily. I would tell you that I'm not as big of a fan of his offensive coordinator as a lot of people are. He's but I'm not gonna. But I do think that when it comes to Texas Tech, they will quit on you quickly, and it will start getting. They're not gonna like paying him what they pay him, and they're gonna stop investing in NIL and some of that other stuff that he's done a good job with. If you don't start winning, if that makes sense. So he needs to get it done. He needs to get it done there. They need to win some of these. I don't think you have to win the conference championship. I think you need to compete for a spot in there.
I think that's fair before you get thrown on like a hot seat.
Yeah. I think he does. I think he does. It's year 3. You kind of got to do something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was, let's go to the last couple, which, I mean, we're going to be a little harder on these two guys. We'll start here.
Where are we at?
We'll start with James Franklin, Penn State.
Interesting one.
I don't know that they're going to fire him yet. He just signed another 10-year deal, didn't he, a couple of years ago? He's got a big, but the stuff with the lawsuit that they just lost, a lot of money to that doctor. And the accusations are that he's playing bad or hurt players or practicing them. And I mean, there's a lot of accusations around. There's been a lot of shady talk about him in the past as well, including at Vanderbilt, from what I understand, with some of the stuff that he was doing. I'm not going to say exactly what. There's just rumors out there. They never, called him on any or got him on any of it. But when you don't beat Ohio State ever, you haven't beaten Michigan ever, pretty much. He's won like 1 out of 15 games against them, and since he's been there, you can't. This is not like okay anymore at this point, because here's my question for you: you got a 12-team playoff. Yes, if they go 9-3, 10-2, if they go 10-2 like they usually do, they're going to be in the playoff. Getting into the playoff isn't the same kind of accomplishment as it was as a 12-team playoff. That it wasn't a 14 playoff, right? Or at least I don't think it is. If you don't get in there and at least win a game or two, at some point, what are you paying this guy all this money for? because this is a program that you should be able to. You can recruit there. They can't put an offense on the field. Now, I like their new offensive coordinator. He came from Kansas. Colton Nowicki. However you say his name. I mean, they talked about making a run at him at OU as well.
Well, doesn't he have a background like Kansas City too?
Yeah,
I think he might have with the Chiefs.
It was with Leipold I think he's been with Leipold for a long time. Maybe he was with the Chiefs. I don't know.
I have to look that.
Neil, tell us about this guy. He was the O-line coach.
It's going to be interesting to see with him.
Okay, OC was James Franklin back in Ron Prince's time. Okay, Colton Nicky. Yeah, he's been with Leipold the whole time. That's what I thought too. He's been. I mean, look, Leipold won 7 national championships at Division II or Division III, something like that.
He's impressive, man. He's gonna. Kansas gonna.
Buffalo had a college that played college football until he went to a freaking New Year's 6 game. From there,
wild, man.
He came in. He came in after spring when he got the job at KU. They win 1 the next year, but then they've done nothing but get better every year. I mean,
oh yeah.
Well, Nicky's good, but okay. So Neil, you think that they're going to change up what they look? Well, okay. We've heard that a lot, and they don't really have a ton of good receiving talent in there at the moment that I can see.
I mean, they definitely got played a little bit in their wide receivers. So
their schedule, look, the West Virginia game, we ought to learn a little something about them there. The West Virginia gave them a harder time than they probably should have last year. It's probably what saved Neil Brown. It got them headed on the right foot. Bowling Green, but you better win all 3 of those games. Yeah, Illinois is not a pushover anymore. As far as they got a coach there that they're going to be a pain in the ass. Now they did get them last year.
Yeah,
but I think that he's done good. Brett Bielema has done a good job there.
Yeah,
he's going to play defense. He's going to run the ball. It's the kind of team like Michigan will rough you up, right?
Yep.
UCLA, got to win that one. It's at home. You better win this one too, because USC is not going to be that team this year. This is it. Look, if they're going to get it done at SC, it's going to be next year. You need to win that game. You have a bye week after it. You need to win that game.
Yes. Well, I mean, they're man, I'll tell you what, basically from the end of October for Penn State.
They got an easy schedule, bro. They don't have to play Michigan. They got Ohio State, but they don't play Oregon.
Yeah, they don't play Oregon. I think besides maybe Purdue, though, towards their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. Yeah, 6 games. Besides maybe Purdue. I don't know what Purdue will produce. Again, I know we were talking about them, right? Like they definitely.
Well, who's their coach now? Because they had to replace.
Bam. By the way,
you got that job.
Roll Tide, Alabama just got another commitment. Boom.
Great news.
Dude, they are kicking ass. I'm going to tell you right now. So here's the announcement for everybody.
I'm happy about this.
Michael Carroll just committed to the University of Alabama. We kind of felt like that was coming. He's a 4-star interior offensive lineman. So I know not everybody on here wants to hear that, but Michael Carroll's a beast.
No. That's a good news to talk about it. I mean, we need to know.
Yeah,
stuff like that happens.
Well, I mean, dude, they're cleaning up right now. There's supposed to be 2, 3, maybe 4 more commitments coming here in the next week, maybe. So they're clean. I don't know what the heck they're doing on their OVs, dude, but they're kicking ass. It's kind of similar to Oklahoma's OVs, though. I have to say, this is why I give Oklahoma so much credit. Is, dude, Oklahoma. I have tremendous respect for Oklahoma and what they do recruiting wise, yes, go ahead.
This is the perfect statement. The patron
I
saint
like
of
it.
mediocrity.
Yeah, man.
Along with Mike Gundy. Don't forget about him.
Yeah, well, yeah, Mike Gundy, dude. When is Oklahoma State gonna say like, okay, we just are not?
I mean, there's
we're
got
not
look.
getting it.
GJ Kinney's down freaking 100 miles from you.
Well, I just wonder when it's gonna be.
It
just have too
amazes
much.
me. 200 miles from you or 150 miles, you could go have that guy. Or Trailer's been down at UTSA killing people for freaking 10 years now, almost. Not probably that long, but it's been a while. He's been killing it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I just don't get why they're okay with that, man. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just crazy. But it will be interesting to see. I think for Franklin, Washington, right? Big question mark this year. Even I mean, I know Washington obviously very well.
They're going to be better, but they're not. They're going to be good, but they're not going to be anything like they were last year, right?
No.
It's going to take him a year to lost.
I think it takes him maybe a year, maybe two, right? But I think they're going in the right direction, right? And I love what Jetfish can do. I mean, I love the staff that he has. The question with him is how long can he keep? If they have success, like how long can he keep some of his staff? Because when you have Pete Carroll's son, and I think he's 4 to 5 years. That's my prediction with him. But before he's like maybe going
to buy that one, dude. I think if Florida comes open, they're going to really make.
Don't get me wrong. I heard the same thing. So it's going to be an interesting one. That's for sure. He has that's
got to hope for Billy to do well if you want Washington to keep him.
Yeah, that's right, dude. I mean, that's the truth. It's going to be interesting for sure. But so Washington's a question mark. Obviously, Wisconsin, that game for them is going. I think that's going to be a challenge. I think Luke Fickell is going to play some really good football. I think that by that time too, if Wisconsin hadn't picked it up early in the season, they should be picking it up right around then. You know.
Okay. That's their other hard win. But I mean, look, and it's on the road. So you got back-to-backs there. This is your little hump that you got, plus the Ohio State game. You got to look, though. There's no excuses for this cat anymore.
No, 100%. He has to.
I mean, you have to
start outdoing what he's done.
Win some of them, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like,
I feel that way about Kiffin a little bit.
Yeah, Kiffin, I think, is in. I don't even know how to say it with Kiffin. You're right.
I don't think they're going to get rid of him at Ole Miss. I mean, you know, what are you going to do?
That would be. You know, it's funny. That would be your other potential. We talk about Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, he absolutely. That's like.
Yeah, I don't see them firing him. I see him leaving, but it would have to be. I think that they let him kind of do what he wants, though, right?
I mean, that's true. Like, he's done so much for him. I mean, besides obviously, previously when they had Hugh Freeze, like Kiffin's got him back into this. Kept him in like a vibe of relevancy.
No, I think he does a good job. I just think that I don't think that you're going to win consistently there, right? And here's the problem with Ole Miss. When they invested like this, and you say you don't, I think he should make the play. But what if he doesn't? You got all this money that tied up in NIL money. You got those folks to loosen up the purse strings and give you cash, and then you don't get there or go deep in the playoff. How many years are they going to do that for you?
Yeah.
Again, this is the problem at some of these other programs that aren't used to. They're not your blue blood types or your always competitive types. They're not going to do that shit forever.
Yeah, man. Well, and Fatty makes a good point here, man. Like, but that's going to be the thing. It's like if they do, you're right. That would be BS.
Especially with this schedule, they don't play.
Agreed.
They don't play Oregon. They don't play Michigan.
Yeah, agreed, man. And then
you get Ohio State at home.
Yeah.
Now Ohio State's probably better than they've been. except for at the quarterback.
Well,
I don't know what they got at quarterback as far as except for some freshmen.
well, it's not like they didn't. It's not like they brought in Will Howard to be some superstar. They brought him in to maintain, right?
Mhm.
Just like get. We're not asking you to break records. We're not asking you to do all these crazy, amazing things. We're asking you to come in and help us stay at a level of maintenance to get the ball to the right people to win games, which he can do. So, and this is, yeah, Neilio, this is a good, he is, and the
Yeah,
facts are, is like, if they utilize, what they have, and you forgive me, I don't know necessarily what they have on their depth chart. There's just so many subjects and teams that we cover, and I more so look at SEC stuff, but at the same time, you're right. If they can utilize that, if Drew Aller is like, a lot of people
that's
talk
the
about
question.
him
Is Drew good
being,
enough? And they lost their best receiver, I know.
Yeah, 100%. So,
But they brought
like
in that other guy from Ohio State that wasn't their best receiver. So I don't know. That may be better than what they had. I don't know. But
yeah,
I don't think that they have. Watch, I'm going to pull up their depth chart, but I don't love them. Defensively, I think they do a great job. But you have to put some. I mean, you cannot be. It's not okay to be Iowa today, in today's age, man. It's just not okay.
agreed. And I think, like, if Aller produces, they definitely could do something, right? Like, I mean, they can maybe make some.
Julian Fleming is who they brought over from Ohio State, but he wasn't that good.
I mean, it's going to be. It's not the schedule, although it looks easy, like there's winnable games. The question is, and Alan Train, like
Yes,
I
dude.
saw
Yes,
like
dude.
West Virginia, huh?
Yes, dude. Thought he was saying all these guys are just they're all saying they don't win big games, and he said add Lincoln Riley to that list. Yes, you should. Absolutely.
I know. Well,
Lincoln doesn't even want to play those games anymore. He doesn't even want to play them.
And for Lanning over at Oregon, this is kind of the year he has to, because he has tremendous amount of talent.
Where in the fuck do people get the idea that this dude's a top 5 coach when he hadn't won a game against anybody that's worth the shit yet?
I mean, I think what they see, though, I think they see like what he's brought to Oregon as far as
he's 0-3 against his freaking biggest rival. I know that part.
Don't get me wrong. I love that. That's my favorite. Trust me.
Yeah.
But I am saying, like, I think this
Stark
is the
and
season.
him are 0-5 against freaking Kalen DeVore.
Yeah, makes me happy. I'm good with that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see as far as with Penn State, like that West Virginia game, easily losable. Especially on an opening game.
It could be, but he better not. You better not.
You're right. Like, well, that's the thing is, like, Penn State, do you guys have the right mindset? And that very much comes starting from the top down.
I think the rumbles are starting to happen, though. That's the thing. It's the reason I asked the question. I think that the rumbles are starting to happen. They're tired of the not winning. They've paid him a lot of money. He's got great facilities, got a great fan base. That they do the whiteouts. I mean, they win the games against teams that they're favored to beat, but they never beat anybody that's favored to beat them ever. And their offense is good. And Colton Nicky, maybe he turns it around. Maybe he does. But that's the thing is, I don't know how much. Maybe since they made the investment in a new coordinator, maybe you give him another couple of years. But I think, again, I don't know that this is a fire him year. I think this is you better do something or it's going to get hot around here. Right?
Yeah.
Same thing I'm going to say about the next guy. I don't think that they're going to fire him either this year unless, you would have to go 4-8 or something like that. But I would tell you that I think people there's rumbles around these programs, both of them, that they're sick and tired of them not winning the big games.
Oh, agreed. I mean,
again, this is not Ole Miss. This is Penn State.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I don't know, and it's interesting too because I think that has a lot to do with the fact that there was now it's changed a little bit, but I think the fact that like Penn State always being
Ooh.
that third wheel almost right in the Big Ten. You know what I'm saying?
You know, Lance Leipold would kill it there. Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean that's true. He would do a good job.
He
But the
would
problem
kill
is can you get him from Texas? You know, there's teams that kind of tried this last year, and
Well,
or
no, he's
sorry,
a
can you get him
Kansas.
from Kansas? Sorry, can you get him from
Well,
Kansas?
I think he's a Midwest guy. I don't think he wanted anything to do with A&M is what it was. A&M wanted him, and I know Kansas, that was, or I mean, Washington, that was their first move, wasn't it? Was after KD, they went after Lance, didn't they?
Yeah, I believe Washington tried, but I
Yeah.
mean, everyone kind of knew that was kind of a long shot.
Listen, though,
So
it's Kansas. You're never going to be the guy there. You're never going to look. Bill Self stirs the drink. That's it.
yeah,
It's never going to. I mean, I think he wants to prove that. I mean, look, if you can go and win 9 or 10 games and he won 8 last year, or 8 or 9, so you can go win 10 games again or whatever, then yeah. But this is the kind of job he would leave for because that's where he's from, the Midwest. It would work perfect for him to go get that job at Penn State. I think that, yeah, absolutely. I do think he likes it there.
mm-hmm.
But I think that that would be the kind of job that he would probably jump for. I don't see him going to the West Coast. I don't see him going to Texas or Texas A&M only because, first off, I don't think that Texas and Texas A&M would approach him correctly.
What? Alabama's the same since Saban retired. Whoa.
They're recruiting pretty. If you're not watching the recruiting numbers,
Did you hear what I said?
They're not the same necessarily, but they're
not the same.
They're still going to. They're still going to be good. I'm not going to be the guy predicting their downfall. It's just not going to be me, folks. You already know this.
Yeah, Staten has a statue.
Yeah,
he already has one. He had one while he was coaching there.
yeah, no doubt.
So
yeah, they jumped ahead of Oklahoma in the recruiting rankings with that pickup they got. But you still got guys. I mean, you're looking at recruiting some of these guys that are coming in. I think it's going to come down to this lineman. These couple of linemen, see where they end up. Fasusi, and you've got Fasusi, and you've got the kid from
Ty Haywood.
Ty Haywood, yes.
Like Haywood's. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's an Oklahoma Alabama battle. It'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting. That one's going to be interesting to see. OVs are so hard because. Oh man, dude, like OVs, there's a lot of, you walk out of there with so much excitement, and so you kind of have to let things cool down to really see which direction they're actually going to go. But he is, man. I mean, DeBoer, what he surrounds himself with is what's impressive.
Yeah, let me pull up this sheet that I've got. So Alabama still is their talent roster, according to the professor guy. Their roster talent ranking is still number 1.
Yeah.
This is coming from, I mean, this guy has his analytics system has been more accurate than ESPN FPI for 5-6 years.
What does he give
this in June?
What is I'm not looking at it right now, Jason. What does he give them for like a win over under?
He's got them at projected record is 9-3, record ceiling 11-1. So yeah, he's only got really 2 toss-up games, them being Oklahoma and LSU.
For Bama?
Yes, he's got them losing to Georgia. It's 6-point spread on that one. 6-point spread on that though. Then it's like a 1 point. He's got them losing to LSU on the road at LSU, which I understand that. And then he's got them losing on the road at Oklahoma. But it's a point and less than a point is what he's got on his. It's a toss-up game. So Yeah,
I think
he's
the
got
Georgia games probably, for me at least, that's because everyone's given a lot of comparison to like what's your game that you have to win. For me, it's the 100% it's the Georgia
'cause
game
it's
because I
at
have
home.
what's at home and how much it impacts recruiting. But
Sure.
Georgia and maybe Shoddy is the Georgia guy, correct? So
Yeah.
wait,
Yeah,
maybe
nine and
you
a
can.
half wins is what they've had him at, though, yes.
Yeah, too bad, Shoddy, you're not with us, man, because I would ask you, my interest is like, what does the D line look like for Georgia?
Oh,
Because that's I don't know.
they don't miss there.
I mean, they always got ballers, right? But like, how experienced are they? What does their production look like? Because with Georgia, their defensive scheme is so focused on their D line being good. Like they have to have, which don't get me wrong, like you win in the trenches every game, but like their scheme it has very much this like idea of block destruction that causes chaos for offenses because it doesn't allow them to get into their rhythm or even get through like their entire play. I mean, you looked at what they've done defensive line these last few years has been phenomenal. So that's my question is like if Georgia has the D line that they've had in the past with the type of guys that come out, then that's the thing is like they will cause issues. If they don't, then it's a question of saying, okay, what is DeBoer's offense can take advantage and get into their rhythm, and then what does the offense look like on Georgia's side, and can they take advantage of Womack and the defense over there? So those are going to be your big question marks going in that game. That's the
I
same
think
thing
that
that
that's
goes
the
with
thing that
Oklahoma.
you haven't really seen this offense, though, if you're Alabama. You haven't played against these guys. You haven't seen a lot of it, of what they do. That's the thing that I think that's the hard thing for a lot of the coaches over the last couple of years.
I
He's been
know.
a head coach at Fresno for like what, a year? And then
I
and
don't
or
know.
maybe 2 years, and then he got
2
2
years. It
years,
was 2 years. Yep.
and then he got 2 years at Washington. But
Year and
I
a half
mean,
because of COVID. But yeah,
they're not
2 years at
playing.
Washington.
Yeah, but they're not playing. They weren't playing either one of them. So I mean, they didn't play Fresno. They didn't play, and so he kind of snuck up on people. I mean, nobody really knew who Kalen was until these last few years. So Lanning is not that good a coach, man. I don't agree with the Lanning guy. I don't see it.
Well, it's funny because a lot of people talk about like DeBoer. Lanning runs Georgia's defense, right? I mean, look, he's the defensive coordinator when they win a national championship.
Who runs
DeBoer,
the defense, though, bro? Come on.
Yeah, okay, but I'm saying like this. They run the scheme. Sorry, let's put it that way. He uses the same scheme, and granted, Oregon doesn't have the same type of players that Georgia has, but it's interesting to see how that offense matches up and takes kind of DeBoer's offense kind of picks apart Lanning, right, in all those games over and over and over. Like there was no stopping it.
He hadn't stopped them yet. I mean, I think that they've gotten better on defense as far as I think Mateo it looked really good towards the end of last year. He was looking good on the defense. They need to get more pressure on quarterbacks for sure, particularly when you've got Penix back there picking you apart. But I also think part of it had to do with, bro, they just had too much. Those three receivers at UW were unguardable, uncoverable.
I mean, yeah, it was impressive.
Hey, see you later, Alan. Thanks for coming in, buddy.
Later, man. Nice to see you, man. Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, I know they're newer guys, but they're studs. So yeah,
always, yeah. Just a matter of who can.
I think it's a fair statement that if you're Bama, that's a big win if you could get it to be. And I think that's probably the only L that you hang on Georgia unless you get them in the conference title game, is because I don't see anybody else touching them. I think that they beat LSU. I think that they maybe. I mean, well, Georgia doesn't play LSU, so I think, but Georgia's going to beat everybody else they play in the regular season. I don't see anybody else touching them.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're used to playing everybody else, right? Like they're used to seeing this similar scheme.
This is definitely one of their harder schedules, but I don't think that I mean, yeah, they're not. I don't know who you can really peg to beat them. I mean, because you don't have LSU. Oklahoma's not playing them. Texas is not going to beat them.
No, I don't.
They're going to rough Texas up, bro. They're going to rough Texas up.
Yeah, it's kind of a game that they'll probably highlight on the calendar. Texas, I think, is probably going to be a highlight for almost every team on their schedule, like 100%. And I think, I don't know why, but I think everybody has this they get sick of hearing about Texas, because it seems to be a lot of favor always in there.
People are sick as shit of hearing about it.
And I think I think you're just going to see a lot of people go, all right, we're going to circle that game. And
Coach Smith was saying the other day, I'm so sick of hearing about Texas.
I mean, I think everybody is like sitting there going, okay, we're going to go after them. And I think they also are looking at it from like a recruiting platform. People are getting pissed off because they're like, okay, Texas is coming in and snagging players that we wouldn't necessarily want them to grab.
Oh, well, yeah.
Not saying it's
the Lamborghini stuff and all that shit.
I'm going to tell you right now, that's going to piss a lot of people off. They're going to go out and try to crush souls when they play Texas now. Yeah. Like, it's going to piss a lot of people off because they're going to be like, you're going to sit there and they're going to sit there.
You heard about Texas said the Southwest Conference, Big 12, and now the SEC.
The problem is in the SEC, you got the teams who will go in and absolutely
kick the shit out of them.
Yeah, they'll play serious.
Hey, they got their asses kicked in the Big 12 too.
Yeah,
one conference championship in 15 years, brother. One.
Yeah.
Oklahoma has 10 more conference titles than they have, and the conference has only been around since ~96.
Yeah. I think Oklahoma, though, you look at Oklahoma as that team that
going to beat the shit out of them all the time.
I mean, they have that
fuck Texas, that mentality is what we have.
Yeah, I don't know who came up, who in their recruiting department or player personnel or the backside who said we're going to line up Lamborghinis. I'm going to be honest with you, that is not a good look, because you're saying, all right, we got all this money, come here. It's not a good look.
I don't think it is either. And they're talking about that a few can get a lease or whatever as part of their NIL package or whatever. But it seems
really
it doesn't look good when you think about the fact that you've had the accidents that you had at Georgia with racing and stuff like that. These kids are kids, and you're giving them supercars that can kill them. I don't like it. I don't like it either. But I would tell you that it's not that. I mean, Oklahoma did it with Lincoln.
Yeah,
not recruiting with substance, but
I just feel like that's like the wrong mindset you are already putting in the players' minds when you walk down a line of Lamborghinis going in. I mean, dude, okay, so what about football? Is football still existing, or is it
all gas, all gas, no brakes? You played for Stark, you tell me.
Goodbye. Well, yeah, but it's a different, like.
I know you were.
I'm not saying
I get it, but
yeah, Washington and it's a completely different time frame. Not to mention there's other factors that come into play.
The co-ed thing, was that going on when you were there?
Oh, dude, I can't go into all that stuff. Come on, man. Just trying to get me to say some crazy shit.
I'll actually get her off the air. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I just had to bust your chops for a second.
Yeah, no worries. It's all good.
For a second.
No, Washington.
No, somebody said the brand is back. Hold on.
The brand has finally returned. Fuck your brand.
My guy.
I don't know. I just feel like Texas should be
of Michigan coming out of the gate, not missing a step with more as the head coach. Realistic shot at winning the Big. I don't know how realistic it is of winning the Big 10. I think that they could. I don't know. I'll tell you this. If we're going to talk about that, then Ohio State had better win the national championship.
I'm going to be honest. If Ohio State does not beat Michigan, that's your
I think
there's
he's
going to be
gone.
some.
You better win the Natty then. If you don't
Whoa.
beat Michigan, it's 4 years in a row, and you don't win the Natty, they walk him out the door. And crazy as that may
Whoa.
sound, there's no way you can count it.
Dude, I saved something. I'm gonna go see if I can pull this up for you guys because I wanted to bring this up, and it's funny. I was gonna because we have I have another show on tonight, right?
Mhm.
Did y'all have
Oh,
the
I don't.
coach with the stripper
Come
and the
on.
monkey at Washington? No.
Yeah, don't bring it up.
No, but I'll bring this up now, and I saw it, and hopefully I have it. Hopefully I saved it. But it broke down the numbers of what Ohio State paid in general. Oh God, didn't I have it on here? I'm gonna be pissed off if I didn't
Breaks out
save
of the
it,
Lambos.
dude. But it broke down the numbers of what Ohio State paid, and it was like I think it was like close to 40 million. I think it was like 39 point something million. And people are basically saying like, dude, that you have to, you're in a position like that you have to win. Like you do not have a choice here. You have there's a lot of money being spent.
Yeah.
You've put together this
Ross Bjorg's the new AD. He did not hire this guy. He doesn't have to keep him.
Nope. That's right. So there's a lot of factors. And again, they dropped the Michigan game. That's going to be a big deal. As far as like Michigan, it's going to be interesting to say, okay, what do they have behind everything they lost? Now they still have a good D line. Their secondary should be pretty decent. I mean, they have one of the probably, if not the best cornerback in what's his freaking name? Will
Howard.
Is he the corner? I thought that Will Howard's the quarter.
Oh no, you're talking about.
I'm thinking the corner. There's Will Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Will Johnson, I think. So, I'm telling you, man, like that's gonna be a thing. And Shotty, you say it, man. Ask Jimbo how it feels when you try and buy a championship. 100%. Like that
was his AD when he did it. That was the AD when he did it,
dude. Like, okay, let's see what happens, man. And with Michigan, their defense is yeah. Their defense is what wins.
Bro.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so Michigan's going to be Michigan. There's a lot of question marks on what they bring back production wise for what their offense will look like. Now it helps having more, right?
Sure.
But they also lose some really good coaches. Now, were those coaches able to pass on this mindset to, especially like on the defensive side because Minter's gone, right? So
right.
So so their strength and conditioning coach also left. So did they grab their counterparts to hold on to them, and did they gain enough from them to continue to produce at that level, right? So and then obviously, do they have the depth on offense? Like, do they have a quarterback finally that throws, besides the little dink passes, that makes him look way better than he is? Because I'm not a big fan.
I don't know. I think that they better run the ball a lot though with Chip Kelly because of the fact that they brought in another guy to go with Trey. I mean, when you go in and then you've got Trey already, and Travion Henderson, isn't that his name? It's Travion Henderson, right? Stud
running back.
Yeah. And then you bring in obviously Quinshon Junkins, which he's a stud too, but he's a pain in the ass, it sounds like. But the one thing that you saw out of Chip whenever he was there at Oregon, that was his thing, is they ran the ball however they wanted to.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is that RPO offense it was all based on, okay, how do we set you up and utilize the multiple different options to get the ball downfield, whether it's
but you got two workhorse type of running backs that are take the top off dudes. I know that you've got the best, quote unquote, the best receiving room in the country, but I don't know what you got to trigger, man. I would run the shit out of the ball to open that up if I'm, and I think Chip does that. He's always been a coordinator than he was the head coach, right?
Well, yeah, I would say so. I just think he likes to kind of do his thing, you know, and not have to necessarily place it always in the hands of others. So
They were screwing him at UCLA, though. That was the whole thing. They were going
that's a
he was
tough.
going to lose everything. He was going to lose everything.
You need the right person in there to convince people to buy in at UCLA. And Chip's not like a rah, let's everybody buy in. Chip just wants
Well, I was talking about the money though that they're making. They're wanting them to split their money they're
with
getting
Cal.
from the Big Ten with Cal, and they're having to fight it, but it looks like that's going to happen.
I don't even know.
That's a terrible situation. Terrible.
Like seriously, that's insane.
Yeah, dude.
Right. Like that's
imagine?
Like you want to talk about like killing your program for the next
forever. It's probably it. And they were already wasn't that good.
No, but I mean, what they brought in coaching staff wise is pretty decent. I will say that. I'm not saying like from a head coach, you know, like Sean Foster, he's doing things I'm impressed with for not having the experience that you would think you would need. He's made movements to utilize.
They look up to him though, and he's worked with good people, and he was a pro.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think he has the right mindset to.
Sure.
He's the type of guy who like goes in there with his background, with his mindset, with like what he's overall doing. I think people can use really getting after donors and the resources around UCLA to get that money in from an NIL standpoint. That's why you're even seeing them relevant in this recruiting process because now, you know what I mean? Like they are making some headway with some big time recruits. So,
but it's tough though. It's like Neilio's talking about. I mean, there's a lot of money, and it's going to cost you a shit ton of money to travel anyway. This travel is that's the big problem for these West Coast teams. If you almost feel like you need them to get in, which USC and UCLA apparently did not want this to happen, but I would tell you that you almost need to expand with the rest of the old Pac-12 and have that be like a pod out there so that you don't. It was already a lot of travel, right? I don't see how that works out. And like you said there too, yeah, they don't give a shit. I mean, man, it's the Rose Bowl and people aren't there hardly ever.
I know. It's not the same. It's just so funny because and I think that has a lot to do with who was in place running the Pac-12. I mean,
oh, dude,
you awful. God, dude, because you look back in the day at the Pac-10 before it's even the Pac-12, and man, there's a lot of relevancy there, and people basically saying, like, man, look at like these teams back then, or you had USC. I mean, Washington was good. You had UCLA definitely made
over and over again with they could have gotten Texas and Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Tech. They could have gotten all of them, and they continued to. And even after when OU and Texas decided to leave, they had to fuck that up 16 ways from Sunday to not be the one that survived.
Well, and they could have had them. They easily could have put them back into the mix. All you had to do was get it right from a financial standpoint, and you couldn't even do that, right? Like,
they never figured it out. And it's again, I think that people aren't evolving very well, and I think that goes for coaches as well. And then this is the last one that we're going to talk about here. And look, this is the one that is really not doing it. He's not doing it. The guy has decided that he is not again. I'm going to tell you right now that it does not appear in any way, shape, or form. They're not stopping the transfer portal. That's been announced. That is a permanent thing. The collectives are going nowhere. The NIL stays. You just added pay for play with it. Now the revenue share. This guy is a dinosaur if he doesn't get on board. This schedule isn't as tough as you would. I mean, but I look. They've lost more games every year since his last national championship. They've stopped recruiting in the top 5. They're not even recruiting in the top 10 anymore. The last few years. So you're not keeping up there. On top of that, you're not the only school. There are 4 schools in the country that did not get anybody from the transfer portal. Clemson and the service academies. This is not sustainable, bro. And he's talking about that the guys in the portal weren't good enough to play at Clemson. You win 8-4, brother.
I know.
What do we mean?
And Chicken, to answer your question, I think it's Florida. He asked which state has the most Division I programs. I think it's Florida. Oh, seriously, Ohio? Get out of here.
What?
Chicken asked which state has the most Division I programs. And the answer is Ohio. I thought it would be Florida. Man.
No, that's
Ohio.
Division I programs, Cincinnati, Ohio, Miami of Ohio.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a bunch of them. Yeah.
Crazy. All right, cool. But you're right.
Liberty Stadium at Cincinnati last year. That was a dope freaking venue. Absolutely. Yeah. It's the oldest stadium in the country, actually.
Cincinnati they've done a good job.
Super cool city, man. Super cool city.
It is.
Very cool sports city. Very cool sports city.
Well, 100%. You know, the Kels brothers always talk about, I mean, that's why they are so strong.
No doubt about it.
But
they're actually from Cleveland, not Cincinnati.
Well, they're from Cleveland, yeah, that's true. But they talk about Ohio all the time. I mean, they know all about it. But you look at I guess Dabo with what you're saying, and you're right. Like, can he finally turn a corner as far as get back into the national picture with this mindset of not utilizing the transfer portal? It'll be interesting to see if he, after this season, if he keeps that same mindset. I think that's going to be your real question mark.
He's going so far as to say stupid shit like, you know, well, we had transfers. They just came from high school. That's stupid.
It is dumb.
What are we talking about, man? And like,
I don't get that.
Look, I just don't I don't understand it. If you let's look at the rankings right now. And I want to look at the rankings for the last few years too. So
I will say though that Clemson's schedule favors them big time. Besides the Georgia game,
it does a bit. Yeah, I was fixing to say they play Georgia to start. Then App State is not a freaking pushover.
No, they bring in a fight. Right? Florida State, we don't really know what they're going to be like. Yep. NC State's going to be a great game. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think it's going to be a good game.
Stanford won't. Nope. DJU liable to get them. At Florida State, I mean, I don't know what I think about FSU as far. I don't think they're as good as your talent-wise as far as everything they have.
Yeah,
I think that DJ is better than their quarterback from last year. But I would tell you that they're on the road there, and a little revenge factor if you're DJ. I mean, look, they lost to Duke last year. They lost to, they lost to Miami for the first time in forever.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. Great point. I mean,
Wake Forest took them to the wire.
Yeah, that's
Wake
true.
Sucked. Wake didn't. It's bad.
Who's who they
done better at Louisville? They shouldn't beat them. They should. I mean, they should win that game. It's at home. Virginia Tech is on the road. They're going to lose that game.
Yeah, Virginia Tech's good. Everyone knows they're going to be good. I guess that's the hard part too with Virginia Tech is I think everyone expects them to be good because of that production aspect, and they very well. I feel like they're going to be, but it very well also could be maybe one more year, and then you really see them kick in the gear. But Virginia Tech that's going to be a great game. And then
what we were talking about with the recruiting though. So, okay, now they're in the top 4, and we said the same thing about SC. They're in the top 5 right now. But if this doesn't stick, how many of those guys do you lose? And if you're not willing to pay them and somebody else is willing to pay them, I don't know that they're not willing to pay them, but I think that it's certainly not high on the list of things for Dabo to do. He brings in Lincoln's brother, who was the hottest coordinator in the country and doesn't let him run his own offense either. He's blaming it all on these quarterbacks. He blamed it on DJU. Now he's blaming it on Cade Klubnik. He's even got creators and you know, people in the media out there blaming it on these quarterbacks, saying they're garbage. I don't buy it. They haven't had a receiver in there in years.
I gotta say though, like, I don't know if it was Clemson's, like, whose fault was it? Because DJ was in a unique position, right? Having to replace Lawrence, right?
Wasn't just Lawrence, it was they didn't have the same guys as Lawrence had either.
Yeah, 100%. And because DJ, you look at him coming out of high school, he looks so good. So where was the
when he played when Lawrence was injured, he broke the record for most passing yards and touchdowns at Notre Dame. So it's not like he didn't have game.
So it'll be interesting. That's the part. I think that's the one thing when I even look at Florida State with DJU is like, okay, Oregon State, you're not really known to. It's not like a QB development school. I mean,
but he learned to read defenses there, though. He learned to read defenses, which he hadn't done yet.
He did, but again, I think it's the hard part because I like him a lot, and I think
athletically he's successful. All that, right? Yeah,
100%. It's just a matter of like, okay, like you're like watching him throw the ball last season. I was just like, whoa, what is going on? Like, it just does not feel like you.
He had some good games and some not so good games. For sure.
It's just very inconsistent. So that's going to be an interesting thing at Florida State. Like now that he has some talent around him, you saw what they did with.
But does he doesn't have the same guys as they had last year.
I'm saying in comparison though, what you're getting athlete wise at Florida State compared to Oregon State is like black.
Oh yeah, I think that's why he went back over there. He knew he knows the lay of the land in the ACC.
Yeah, I mean it should have stayed over there. You know what I mean? Because Oregon State, I mean Corvallis, like you're not gonna.
They did pretty good with him though. I mean, they didn't have a quarterback the year before, and they were still playing pretty well. But
Oregon State is one of those teams that though is just like, I mean,
I thought it was hired by Michigan State to go get Jonathan Smith. I didn't
really. I think Jonathan Smith's a great coach. I think, dude, Oregon State's a hard place to.
So is Michigan State. Hard place to win.
That's true, but I mean, if he does well there, and I'm going to be honest, like he has a quarterback, they have some pieces in place. We'll see how they improve this next year. But man, Oregon State just
he does a good quarterback. I remember I like that young kid.
Yeah, he's the real deal. But I'll say like Oregon State's just again, recruiting in the Pac-10, Pac-12 was just so unique because you are coming into an area that you're trying to grab kids from the South, from the East, even the Midwest. You can bring them up into these areas where it's like it's cold, it dumps rain, like your populations are way smaller. It completely is.
It's not like being in LA when you're a kid or even like
it's different in California.
Even South Carolina. I mean, there's lots of stuff to do with people when it's warm all the time.
Well, Carolinas are gorgeous.
Yeah,
but, know, like
absolutely.
But you go to Oregon, all you're seeing is freaking trees everywhere and people hugging them. So
I do like Oregon though, but it's a little chilly and rainy for me.
Yeah. I mean, Oregon has its decent stuff. I mean, look, University of Oregon did a great job with their layout. Their campus layout's beautiful. Their facilities are phenomenal. Oregon State, they definitely updated their stuff, but dude, you're going into I mean, literally, that's why they're called the Beavers. It's basically like a logging town, right? And if you're not used to that,
and they don't even log anymore, do they?
No, they don't. They don't. But I mean, like that's what you feel like, though. Like you're driving into Corvallis, you're like, where the hell am I?
Yeah.
You know. So it's just
the point is, he's been blaming these guys though, and it's everybody but Dabo's fault. And he doesn't want to look. You're going to end up having to do what Saban did. He didn't want to deal with the NIL and dealing with the kids that wanting money first. And you have to, and I mean, Saban was it's probably just time for him. You know, he's been coaching for a long time. He's done everything he has to do. But with Dabo, you had this thing running right alongside Nick Saban from the ACC, and you're driving it into the ground because it's like he's holding his breath, like a little kid holding his breath. I don't want to do it.
I see. That's the thing about it is I think that's the hard part for me to see is what I'm thinking is I'm like, what is your strategy here? Because you have to have a strategy. There's no way that you're doing this and not having a strategy, right? So what is your strategy?
He's living off of what he did before, Jake. That's the thing. It feels like to me that he's just like, no, we've already done it this way. Guys, you're not evolving, Dabo.
Well,
guess what? Brent Venables isn't there anymore to help you with this stuff. That's one thing, knowing DJ's dad, he never hardly spoke to Dabo. He said he talked to Venables all the time only. Wild. His son's an offensive guy.
Yeah. And I think I think maybe that's what the hindrance is then from the standpoint of Dabo's side is like, are you not placing the right people around you to continue? It's again, I give this comparison a lot. Successful companies are not just successful because they have a good CEO. The CEO has a vision, of course, of what he wants, but he implements it.
Trust the right guys
through hiring and putting the right people in the right place and continuing to build and go off of this vision to create more and more and more. And I think that you look at Clemson, did they reach their peak and now they're not sure about a vision going forward? Like, so again, we go back to what you said. Like, are we just failing to evolve? You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't know. Their schedule favors them. So what's interesting though is if they do win and make it into the playoffs, then that resets everything. So then does he keep that same mindset? Right.
Okay. So the only way that they win and get into the playoffs. Okay. So let's look at this schedule now, because that's why we got it here. But I would tell you, he honestly thinks his way will get it done again. But that's the point that I'm saying, is that there's no way that it does.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up there, Clem? Thanks for coming in. Love it. I dig. Boomer Sooner. So there's an L with Georgia. You're going to start off the year getting your teeth kicked in. Then, 2 weeks later, they're going to very easily could start off 1-2. They'll beat Stanford. So that's 2-2. Then they're going to probably lose at Florida State. There's 2-3. So you barely get out of September and you're already 2-3 again. You cannot go unless you win the conference title, which a lot of things will have to happen because you don't have Miami on this schedule. Miami, an easy schedule. They're going to coast to 10-2 or 9-3. They should anyway. Look, talking about guys that should be on the hot seat. If Mario Cristobal doesn't find a way to get it done with this team, I don't know what else he can do. They're going to run him at Miami. But there's going to be, NC State, I think that they're really good. Virginia Tech, they've got the most returning talent of anybody in the country, apparently. I don't know how much I believe that, but they got a good coach. I like them. Louisville, I like Jeff Braun. He's a good coach. You get him at home, but even if you just lose 2 in this stretch here, let's say it's Georgia and Florida State, maybe you find a way to skate by NC State because it's at home. You still can't afford to lose another one, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of losses still waiting for your ass.
That's true. That is
Virginia Tech. The South Carolina game is not a guarantee. Although I don't know that I trust South Carolina just yet either. But man, a court that can change a lot of things, particularly if your offense isn't moving the ball. Yeah, they have to depend on Wesco to be that guy as a freshman. And again, I still don't see that he's going to let Little Riley. I don't know why you wouldn't, but why did you hire him? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, again, I think we're going to see see what they're really about. Like, I mean, that opening day against Georgia, at home, or no, it's in Atlanta. Sorry, in Atlanta, you're gonna really see what your team is about. Like, what have you done improvement wise, or do we see them
make a game of it? Don't get blown out, right?
Well, I mean, and here's the thing: let's say they put up a fight. Let's just say in the crazy world they upset Georgia, right? Week 1, because that's the crazy world, right?
It's a crazy world, all right.
Let's just say it happens.
Drinking already, bro.
Dude, not yet, man. But I'll tell you what, I'm just saying, let's just say it does happen. Everybody's going to start flipping their mindset real fast on Dabo and what happens going forward in the momentum they carry. Now, the likelihood of that happening, right, is very, very low. But at the same time, I think the biggest thing you have to ask yourself is, like, through this season.
Well, if you're that kind of coach that everybody's saying that you still are, then you should be able to you better be able to find a way to win some of these games. Now, that's where I'm saying is that the trend is going the other way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just in recruiting, in wins and losses now. So, if you're losing these games because you don't want to, it's not even that he doesn't want to adjust to the portal and the, NIL stuff. He's not he kept saying last year whenever he brought in Riley, well, we run the Clemson offense, not his offense. We run the Clemson offense. What does that mean? Why did you hire him?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the weird.
I know they do it a lot of places. I get it, but
yeah, that's just so. What the thing is I think it's just
offense
weird.
Been pretty shitty lately, there, Dabo.
It's a weird way of saying it, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, for him, like, that's the stuff that, like, people just have to be like, what? So it's either A, like, truly he's just kind of like doing his own thing off in his own side of the town, or B, there is some strategy behind it and he's talking this way, so that way there is a lot of maybe overlook, right, of Clemson.
You think he's being sly, huh? You think he's being sly, playing?
Hey, dude, you know what? People do things. There is strategy in every little aspect, and if you're not thinking that way in this, especially in today's, then you're just crazy for saying the things you're saying. But if you have to admit, there's a lot of things said that are strange, right? Like that are, and you're going, do you really believe this, or are you just?
That's what I'm saying. He's
playing a game
contrary to everything. It's like nothing that he says is about.
I know
we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it the way we've always done it.
Which that's the thing.
The reason that Saban is the GOAT is because he would evolve.
Yeah.
He didn't want to throw the ball around and bring Kiffin. He didn't want to have to hire Lane Kiffin. Lane gave him freaking
hell
headaches.
Yeah,
he had a headache because of Lane. But he knew that he needed to change the offense or else they were going to stop winning.
Agreed. Like,
this is a guy that's way younger than that, and he's acting like, yes, just like what did Charlie just say? Dabo's the old man, get off my yard guy. And it's with everything at this point, right? It's with everything at this point.
Yeah.
I think that it's trending the wrong way for him. It really is.
You're spot on.
I don't know how you get it back. I don't know how you get it back if you don't want to. Because look, you still have the reputation of being a national championship coach. Go 8-4 again another time or two. See how that goes. See how long you continue to recruit well.
That's true.
And they're not recruiting as well as they used to, but I'm saying continue going 8-4. That shit goes away, man. Nobody remembers 10 years ago. And it's coming up on 10 years since they won one again.
That's true. I mean, in the end of the day, like, you can only hold on to your past accomplishments so long, right? And so, and to be honest with you, what's taught and from a philosophical standpoint, as far as winning, is you should not be holding on to any past accomplishments. You should never even think you deserve those accomplishments. truthfully, it goes, if you, for those who watch the show Yellowstone, like, you know what I'm talking about? Like with the Rip Wheeler, dude, the badass in the show, walks up to this kid who is working in the barn, who like they had adopted, right? Do you remember this scene? And he goes, I'm gonna teach you something. I'm not saying it word for word. This is me paraphrasing, but I'm gonna teach you something, a lesson, right? And he goes, don't think you deserve it. Don't ever fucking think you deserve it. Don't think you deserve anything. And as long as you basically keep that mindset, you're always going to work, right, with a mentality that you are the underdog, that you have to get there. And so you're always going to put in that work. And if you keep that mindset, you're going to win. I wonder if Dabo has lost that mindset. And that's the question.
I know that he doesn't want to hear questions. I mean, he's got a call-in show and he's bitching at the people calling in all the time. You know what I mean? It's like, I
probably shouldn't do that.
The one guy was like, it was, you know, what are we paying you for?
Yeah.
Which look, I mean, he's a young kid and an asshole. You know, I mean, you know,
I get it.
But what's the first? But what does he say? You know what? You're the problem. What? The kid isn't getting 12 million a year there, Dabo. That's you.
Yeah. 100%.
That should never be your answer. Never be your answer. You could be like, look, man, don't be disrespectful and don't, I mean, you know, whatever. Or at least explain why it is that you think that you are doing it the way that you are. He doesn't like to. The stale sandwich analogy is perfect for right now. He said you're gonna get tired of eating that same ass sandwich that don't win, man. And you will. Look, kids are definitely. There's a lot of people around Clemson that are still taking up for him. Every time we bring this up, it'll be later, but I'll have all kinds of comments in here. Watch, and I don't care. I don't care, but it's just.
I will say this, just from this standpoint, is I do think that he stays relevant with recruiting, and I think a lot of that has to do with how, because he has a quirky personality, and like the way
the kids,
the kids feel comfortable.
Mission stuff too.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's all about feeling comfortable. Like the more comfortable you feel, the more you feel like you can be yourself, and there's not like you're not walking on, you know, glass, right?
How many guys are gonna throw under the bus, bro? How he's thrown a couple of guys under the bus. I mean, they keep talking about now it's out there that Cade sucks. He was the #1 quarterback in the country, just like DJ was. And you know, you can blame it on DJ that he's not as good as he was, you know, when he came out. Don't you think that probably stunted his growth whenever they don't have receivers and they're getting him beat to death? You know, at some point, the best quarterbacks even start hearing footsteps.
It's true fact, man. True fact. And Neilio actually says this perfectly. What he just said, like you're right. Like that is a great, that is a really good way of putting it, man, because he is projecting that you got to get back to just winning, because you can project those things by being a great coach.
I love it that he has faith. That's fine, and you can live by your faith, but you can't. 100. But you can't be that look down your nose at everybody else. You're not as godlike as me. Don't do that shit.
Oh yeah, you can't. You have to look, man. Like actions speak louder than words. What you produce, right? You can say everything perfect, but if you're not producing the results, then it doesn't change anything. And he doesn't say everything perfect, so that doesn't even help him.
Let me ask you a question. When you were, I mean, you went through the recruiting process, you know, for the time that you did. Every one of the big time coaches you talked to, did you not?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you not know immediately when they were full of shit?
Yeah, 100%. I think you can tell which coaches were like genuine, right? Which guys like maybe had the fire and the passion.
Right.
But I will say, I think it's hard because I don't think Dabo goes and presents himself in a way where guys feel like he's necessarily full of shit. I think he presents himself in a way, like I said, where he allows guys to just be comfortable, which is a big thing in recruiting. Like if you feel comfortable with your head coach, it has an interesting way of saying, oh man, this is great, because then the players around, everybody feels comfortable. But I will say, like, there's a difference between being offered, but I can remember sitting in like Mike Blotty's office and talking with him. Blotty had a very unique feel about his presentation. I don't want to sit there and say about past coaches or coaches in general.
I didn't ask you for a certain person.
Yeah,
you could always tell when somebody
there's a difference,
but
100, because there's a difference between sitting in Blotty's office and talking with him and sitting with Bobby Bowden and talking with him, or Lloyd Carr, right? Which are two legendary coaches that I had the pleasure of being recruited by. So big difference. And Blotty was a decent coach at Oregon, right? But he would have been one who was there for a while, right? There's a difference even between Blotty, Lloyd Carr, Bobby Bowden, and then Pete Carroll, because that's another one who you had the pleasure to sit and talk with. So,
dude,
and Pete's personality,
raw guy, but
but also but intense, right? Yes. He has an intensity. He has a high energy. He's not, people say he does quirky. I didn't think he was quirky, right? Like I think as in the NFL, it was maybe a little different.
It feels real to me with Pete. I never thought that I never thought it was fake, because he was always
dude, he's been himself forever. The guy's energy levels have always been the same way. I think Dabo has a little similarity to like Pete's style, but not necessarily. You know what I'm saying? Like that same sort of, because Pete can have that energy, that excitement, but also be like boom, direct. This is what we're doing. It's harder with Dabo, because you see the quirkiness, and then if he takes a serious aspect, right, then it's almost confusing. You see what I'm saying? Because you're like, well, whoa, wait a minute.
It was always that was that,
Yeah.
Bring your guts with you, fucking football game, after the game, and just being so. I mean, look, it's fun to listen. I didn't mind that stuff. That didn't mind, because he was excited about the game that they just had. But the thing is like, now it's not that anymore. It's excuse after excuse after excuse, and it's just that he doesn't want to look. I look at this schedule as, I don't see them being better. I think they might be worse. They could lose 4. They could lose 5. They could. If they get to 4 again and lose a 5th one, I think at some point you've got to sit him down and be like, look, you either need to take off, or you're gonna have to let us do this with the portal, and it's got to happen, because otherwise everything that won here is going to be gone by the time we let you go. You can't leave him in the position long enough to completely blow it up. Otherwise, what was the point?
Agreed.
Right now, you could salvage it.
Yep. Like, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. I think this season will be. I think this season will be the telling aspect of, like, again, does he create this change come after this, and how do they do? I think those are going to be your two aspects, because if they have success, will we see change, or are we going to stay with the same model? If they don't have success, will we see change, because he truly will be, I would consider
he's got to go or whatever, right? Yeah.
Well, I think he'd be like the hot seat.
And he's never been he was a receivers coach when he got the job. It's not like he's ever been I'm not saying that he doesn't know offense or doesn't know anything. I mean, I think he's always been the CEO. But I agree. I think that, he's right now he's putting his, and he said early on that he's not willing to budge on this. And look, James said it in here earlier too. Look, I get it. He's willing to go down with the ship. Okay, fine, but you don't have to take the ship down with you in this case. Jump out of the boat. And most schools don't go from one successful head coach to another. I don't know about most. I think that schools like Clemson that haven't always been successful, I can see what you're saying there. But that's not what we expected Oklahoma. That's not what they expected Alabama. It's not what you're going to expect any of these other places. I mean, if these places that you want to win and you expect to win, Michigan's not going to be okay with that. Ohio State's not going to be okay with that. You got to win.
Yep.
And at some point, your last win is old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the thing is about that, James, if you're a Clemson guy, think about this, if you're a Clemson guy right now and you're thinking, okay, right now we could still flip this thing around, because it's not like he can't still recruit them. I mean, right now they're in the top 4.
I mean, they are. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a few other guys like from 5-star standpoint that if you go
8-4 or 7-5, how many of those guys do you lose? And you're back outside the top 10, and you won't replace the places you have need, like on the offensive line. They haven't had an offensive lineman there in years.
I mean, well, that's the thing is like, are they able to replace it? Are they able to get, David Sanders is a strong consideration for Clemson. He's the #1 offensive tackle in the nation. So that you're right. Like, even if they do lose, would they be able to hold on to him? I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just going to be, I think in general, it's going to be interesting to see how they turn out. Right.
The #1 quarterback, or no, the #5 quarterback. He's a 5-star though. George McIntyre is so far commit or an offer, but it's not looking like looks like he's going to go to Tennessee.
McIntyre,
Blake,
isn't he already? He's already committed to McIntyre.
Yeah, he is. So okay, Blake Abear is committed, I guess, but he's.
Mm-hmm.
He's a 4-star though. 3-star actually.
I mean, again, like we'll see. I mean, I don't know a lot about him, so I can't speak to whether or not he's actually.
And I'm not saying that either. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. But
in the end, I think what we've been talking about here, where you want to go through some of these things and just talking about it. I mean, if you look at Clemson, yes, they've got K Klubnik coming back. They've got Sammy Brown. They've got Brian Wesco. There's some pieces there, but the depth is, I think, where it's hurting. And if you don't start winning some of these games, you may not like to use the portal, but the portal's going to leave. And you are losing guys to the portal year after year as well. So by not replenishing it, this is not a sustainable model, is what I'm getting at. So I don't know any other way that you can go about it. If you are that guy, the money is there. They have always had money at Clemson. Mm-hmm. They've got money. So it's not like they won't do it. It's that they don't want, man, he worked himself into a position where nobody will tell him no, and somebody needs to step in and tell him no.
Well, and then the next question is, if they're saying, okay, let's say they're not going in the transfer portal, are they using that money to bolster these classes? Yeah. Is that the route they're going? Because I could see how that could be successful potentially. Granted,
what do you
better have the depth
classes as far as the NIL?
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking like from the money aspect, right? I mean, I could see how it could work, but you're going to have continuous depth. You can't have like downer years, right? So
yeah, he's talking about Neil's talking about when Dabo and Vandy flew into KC to talk to Isaiah Simmons. You would have thought Obama had arrived. Dabo was front and center, but that was BV at home. That was all Brent Venables. And Brent almost got Sammy Brown away from him too, but he I think his son kind of helped not have that happen. But and he's a Georgia kid anyway. That was going to be a tough get, you know.
Yeah,
he was in love with the spots that he was getting recruited by. So, all right, guys, we've been going for a while. I got to get out of here too. So, appreciate everybody coming in here. We will be back on Wednesday, of course, tomorrow night for our normal Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern time, right here on CFB-Pod. Make sure you guys jump in there and hit that like button. The last time I looked, I think we had like 20 something likes. We've had like 300 viewers at some point in here, and we've got still about 25 likes. So not getting enough likes there, guys. Make sure you do that for us, and that's the main thing. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that he's using what Shotty just said is right, because it doesn't show on the rankings that he's using that money, because they're dropped out of the top 10. So something's not right for sure. But again, I think that that's what we were trying to show on this show, was that, look, you've got a guy like Lebby that's coming in. He's got an open reign, and he's definitely new age. He's an NIL guy. Then you go, the rest of these guys are kind of in situations where, again, I don't know that I don't see them firing Dabo Sweeney after this year if they go 8-4 even, but I think his seat definitely gets heated up. I was saying about, I am a fan of Joey McGuire. I just know how Lubbock is, and if they don't start winning soon, they will stop kicking cash at him. That's all there is to it, and they won't be watching. They won't be there. So I think that a lot of the guys that I've heard from that are tech creators, they've said the honeymoon's over. I think the honeymoon should have been over for James Franklin. And I don't know if you're Clark Lee that you're getting. I don't know that it's a doable job even, but I don't know why they could keep him around. If you, at some point, you got to win some games, you know. It is the SEC, and you are going to get enough money to invest in it. I don't know. Either that, or they probably don't belong in the conference at that point, which that's something to talk about at a later date. Jake, I appreciate you coming on, my man, as always.
Yeah.
Always good discussions with you, man. And I love getting your feel on things, because of just, you know, like I said, you know, going through that recruiting process like that, and being, you know, Shotty knows about it too. You guys both played at big programs, you know, him playing at Georgia and back in the Champ Bailey days. So
that's way bigger than mine.
Well, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
You're recruited by everybody in the country too. So it's again, that's you know, when you start looking at a lot of this stuff, I like having you guys to come in here and give your perspective on a lot of this stuff. And I just think that none of us love the direction that college football is headed in completely, right? I mean, I wish it wasn't turning into just a money grab, but I think that players definitely deserve money, right?
Yeah. I mean, I
don't love the changing conferences and stuff all for everybody. And, you know, that now the Pac-12 is completely gone. I think that's sucks. And I don't like the fact that you're really making it. I mean, you're even making it. I mean, we all knew that it was never really on equal playing field, but now you're not even trying to hide it. So
yeah,
it's tough. And so I get it that everybody is struggling with it. But these are things that these coaches can do something about this, right? Yeah, he is a great guest, man. I appreciate all you guys too, man. Y'all are all great being in here in the comments and engaging with us to get us to answer some of these questions, you know. I appreciate it a lot. Shotty, good to see you in here, man. Hopefully you come in tomorrow night and jump on with us tomorrow night. And yeah, guys, we will definitely be back tomorrow evening, then Wednesday morning. I'll be back for sure. Jake's welcome to come back whenever he wants. So
appreciate that.
You know,
appreciate that, man. Yeah, should be on this evening if you guys want to catch us over at Around the Table Sports with Ty Hayes.
Oh yeah,
potentially will be there. I don't
5
typically.
Yeah.
Typically, we're between either 5 to 6 p.m. Central Time. We'll confirm that later. Just that's the thing, as I say, everybody, if you follow on tweet or Twitter, tweet on X,
Twitter.
on
On
Twitter.
Twitter.
But yeah, if you follow on X, mine's at coach_J Mayer. And it's all capital. Yeah, I don't know if you can pull it up there, Jason, but
I sure can.
there you go. Yeah, you can see that right down there. Yeah, there you go. That's always weird when you're looking at yourself doing that. But yeah, if you shoot me over, follow, you can check out different content. Obviously, mainly I do Alabama stuff, but in general, I kind of focus on the SEC. And then we'll have my channel hopefully coming to you guys by this next weekend. It's been kind of a work in progress, getting some things in place, but we're getting it down, and we'll be doing some things with that. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, man. I'm excited about that.
I am too,
So
man.
hang
That's been a
around.
lot of fun.
Yeah, hang around real quick. But
okay,
yes,
yeah, I got you.
folks, we appreciate everybody coming in. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. Jump in, and if you have for you Oklahoma fans, if you are looking to get any Sooner softball championship gear, jump onto our Hall of Fame Fanatics partner site, which is hofmedia.us/fanatics, just like the one at the top for the Podmerse. It's just /fanatics. You can jump in there. I believe the deal today is still 20% off all that stuff. So free shipping on a lot of that stuff if you get over even like $20. Best deals you can get through Fanatics by doing that. Get you some of that 4-peat gear. Amazing stuff. We'll tell you again that, TriMintMobile.com is an unbelievable deal on your wireless. You do not have to stick with Verizon or any of the big boys that are charging you buku bucks a month. I get the same stuff that I was getting with Verizon. 2 phones, unlimited everything, $60 a month for the both of them, for the 2 together. I'm saving $1,600 this year on that stuff. It's well worth giving it a try. Get 3 months unlimited talk, text, and data for $45. So that's $15 a month. It's worth trying it for 3 months. You can keep your other service on the same phone. You don't have to deal with salespeople. You'll thank me later. Get in there and check it out. All right. Free way to help. Just hit the like button. Share us with your friends. We'd appreciate it. Thanks a lot, everybody, for coming in. Appreciate you all. Jake, thanks again. Appreciate you, brother. We will see you all on the next one.